Thank you for coming back. We have been blown away by the attendance at the event. It's just so great to see so many people here. Want to take a minute to recognize how flawlessly and perfect the audiovisual team has been, and that's thanks to my friend Dal. I don't know if he's in the room from BizVersity. Is he here? Yeah. Where are you? Hey, Dal, stand up for a second. Give a wave. It's my good friend Dal. Let's give him and the audio team a big round of applause. And you should download the app BizVersity. Dale was telling me all about his plans last night over dinner. But he's going to take all the videos here, edit them, clean them up. And so if you missed anything and you want to see those videos, please go to BizVersity. He's going to have them all there for you. We couldn't have done this, really, without the help of New South Wales and all the different organizations that got together and put together a tremendous level of support for us, from Destination New South Wales to the government and to Business Events Sydney. And Fiona Rose, my new friend who I've had dinner with a couple of nights this week, and I have been plotting where we go from here, and it's been just great. So she's going to talk a little bit about incubators and raising money from governments, which is a real thing, and you're very lucky in this town to have the tremendous support of the government. And then after she speaks, Amato Galoy from Rex, which is an outstanding company from our incubator, is going to talk a little bit about the value of incubators, and we're going to do a bunch of Q&A. So please welcome Fiona Rose.
Oh, excellent. Hello again. I've only got 10 minutes to talk to you about how to raise money from government, so I'm going to talk really fast. Let me know if it's too fast. So I'll quickly tell you about what we do and what sort of businesses we're looking for, and then I'll give you some tips on how to be successful in getting money from Jobs New South Wales, or perhaps this will apply to other government agencies and maybe even other investors as well. And we've got time for questions at the end, I believe. So what do we do at Jobs New South Wales? We have a $190 million fund. This is to help mainly businesses grow their capacity, do their MVP, grow jobs, and hopefully stay here, keep their HQ here while they expand and take over the world. So the products we have, we've got grants for pre-revenue startups or startups in their really early revenue stages. We've got loans for businesses that are scaling and already have revenues and contracts. And we've got a new equity fund as well. So that's for about the Series B businesses with about $20 million valuation. So I'll focus mainly on our grants today because I think your audience is mainly startups. So our first grant is the Minimal Viable Product Grant, which is to help companies develop from their proof of concept to their MVP. This is a grant up to $25,000 of matched funding. Once you have got through that grant and developed that MVP product, our next one is the Building Partnerships Grant, which is up to $100,000. So this is when you have your first big key account that is ready to do a pilot with you and then give you some feedback at the end of that as well. So as I said, up to $100,000, you require a key client, but also a third party that will help take it to market, so a distributor or similar to that. In terms of loans, you probably know that it's quite challenging for early stage businesses that perhaps haven't hit that break-even point or haven't been making profit for very long to get money from the banks. So we offer businesses that may not have reached that break-even point yet or haven't been profitable for long, debt up to $1.2 million. If you're in regional New South Wales, we love to support regional businesses. It's harder for them to reach their markets and raise capital, so we can do interest-free for them. But generally for any of our clients, we don't require personal assets as guarantees, we don't require directors' guarantees, so it's a lower risk, hopefully more palatable type of debt for you to get used to. Once you can access bank funding, we have loan guarantees. If you can't get your full quantum of funding from the bank, we can cover up to 50% of your loan to enable you to get that quantum for your growth project. And then, as I said, we have our equity fund as well. So here is a bit of a cheat sheet. I know when you read these words, it sounds really basic, and of course you will shop around for your funding. Of course you will read the material to make sure you're eligible before wasting your time. But I also know that when you're super busy, trying lots of applications, trying to get funding, people do apply for us and miss some of this. So grants and free money is very enticing, But do make sure that it is a funding tool that it's going to work for you. It is retrospective funding. Perhaps it won't be enough to kind of fill that gap for what you need. And there are lots of different grants out there from state governments and federal governments too. So find out about what they all are. On our website, we have a product matcher, so you can see which grant best fits your needs. And the federal government has business.gov.au, which you can do the same thing too. Call us, please call us. We have a big team. We can tell you in 2 minutes if this product's going to work for you, if you're eligible, and it will save you lots of time reading lots of documentation and doing an application that may not be for the right product. Make sure you're eligible. So we try to keep our fact sheets and FAQs pretty succinct. It's only 2 or 3 pages for you to read, but it clearly points out what we're looking for, what a good customer looks like for us, and the type of businesses we're wanting to support. So just double check that it's the right product and it's going to fit, and address all the eligibility criteria. So our products are run in competitive rounds. We're currently, for the MVP, getting about 50 applications a month. It's quite a lot. Not everyone can get a prize, but if you do answer every question, and sometimes I read applications and they've missed out the question like, who do you see your main competitors are, or who do you see your ideal key customers left out, then you definitely won't get through. If you're stuck, don't be shy or embarrassed or whatever to call again. I struggle with application forms and getting it right, so definitely call, check the question, check you've got the right answer, so that you're not wasting your time. And this is really important, the last point, with any investor you're speaking to, anyone who's funding you. If you are not successful, find out why. We will definitely take the time to meet with you and talk you through your application. It could be more of a not quite ready now, or you didn't clearly articulate this part of your business. So just do find out why, because you can definitely apply again. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of our successful customers and why I liked them. So the first one is a company called Binary Beer. So this is a company we liked because we really understood the problem they were trying to solve, and we could see the market. The problem was helping customers find out how much beer they had left in their kegs, where their kegs were, and what the quality of the beer was. All very important problems for everyone. We could also see quickly how that product could be used across a really wide range of food and beverage categories, so we could see great scale there. And also they had partnered with University of Wollongong on their product and commercialised it through iAccelerate. So they had a good team behind them, they had good knowledge, they had good understanding of the market, and they came from NARA, so Regional New South Wales, and as I said, that is a big focus for our fund as well. Cumulus VFX is one of the first companies I looked at. It was a company we actually provided a loan to, and I love this business. It is based in Byron Bay. So Will Gammon, the founder there, he does post-production and visual effects. And the reason I like this business was the main thing was he had a really diversified client base. You can imagine the film industry, there's lots of different levels of funding coming from government. Sometimes there's some, sometimes there's none. And he'd really diverse his client base. So this company in Byron Bay is doing some of the visual effects for the Marvel films. He just worked on Peter Rabbit. So global clients, but also lots of Australian clients too, from big films like Happy Feet was one, and then small Australian independent films too. So real diversity of his client base. So we thought if something went wrong in one of those countries and the film industry wasn't being supported, he had good backup there. He was really and is really passionate about supporting skills development in this area in the Northern Rivers, which is really important to government. He has great technology in his business. He is teaching, employing lots of youth up there where there's a youth unemployment problem. He's doing internships, traineeships, and really helping the local community there, which we love. Will has really sticky clients. So this is not a company where you're going to get 3-year contracts from your clients. It's project-based. But we were seeing the same names coming year and year to him and growing the portfolio of work they required for him and just him growing his client base. And it was easy to see why, because he really understood his customers' needs. He developed technology, which meant he could send data, to huge data files to him to them all over the world. He's a really humble guy. He's a really smart guy, and he's just a really lovely guy, and customers love spending time with him. We love spending time with him, so we could see why his business was going to do well. Hashching is a Sydney-based company that we supported with a loan earlier this year. We really like this business. It's an online marketplace for mortgage, helping people get basically mortgage broker prices for their mortgages. Actually, he just sent me a text now to let you know that to date he's coordinated $950 million worth of loans, and this in the last 12 months he's saved Aussie customers $8.55 million in their mortgage repayments for 1 year. So they're doing really well. They had a really clear value proposition. We all understand that you shop around for your mortgage and you're not sure if you're getting the best price, you're not sure if your lender's being that transparent. So they're solving some of those problems. So we understood that. We know how many people are trying to get mortgages and refinancing. So we know the market is really big. We really love this team. They're really well diversified. A few of the founders came out of the banks, so they understood exactly the bank's process and how they could do better. And they had a CFO in there from day one. I think that made a massive difference for them because their numbers worked. No matter what questions we asked, we had the answers. They had the answers. The narrative matched the numbers, and we could stress test it lots of different ways. And any way we did it, the numbers worked. So that is a really good business too. So in summary, how to be successful, and this would apply. This is not just for us. It would be probably to any investor that you were speaking to. Be really clear about your problem and your solution. If it's a problem that you have experience in yourself, which you probably do, that's how you came up with the idea, then make sure that you personalise it so we can understand it really quickly. It does help. Read the criteria. As I said, read all those papers. If you don't understand anything, please ask. Be really realistic about your market opportunity and your key customers. So, for example, if you're the beer guy, don't come and tell me you're going to sign up 600 global beer companies in 12 months. From now, because I probably won't believe that. But tell me about the companies you're going to target, how you have connections to them, and how you're going to start that relationship. Be really transparent and share all your information. So usually we might be one of the first people, other than the shareholders, investing in the company. We need to know exactly how it works. If we find out halfway through the transaction that you've held back information around the structure of contracts or relationships that you've got, your credibility will go down, and I'll be very unlikely to support it. So share all that information. If there's a problem in your business, in my organisation, I have people that come from a wide range of industries, mainly from the private sector. So we could have come across the problem that you've got in your business, and perhaps we'll be able to help you before the problem gets bigger. So you need to trust people who are investing in you, and share that information. Make sure your numbers match your story. As I said, we see a lot of the time a great narrative. But when I look at forecasts, I can't see the 50 jobs you've told me that you're creating, and in your wages line in your forecast, the number's not shifting at all over 5 years. So make sure the numbers are as good as the narrative. Think beyond your local markets. For us, we're looking at investing in businesses that are serving customers beyond New South Wales. So you could have some New South Wales customers, of course, but you're looking nationally and hopefully globally as well. And don't forget about the jobs. We really care about having a strong talent pool here in New South Wales. We want our businesses to be creating jobs. We want to know what jobs you're creating, how many you're creating, and how long you think they will be around for. So that's it. That's how to win at the game with us. So here are the contact details. As I said, I've got a team of about 15 ready to speak to you. If you have any questions about the funding, I'll be here after this speech. I've got a couple of my team members here too. Our website's there. You can see the information online, and you can apply online for all the products. Thank you.
Okay, let's give it up for Fiona. And if anybody has a question right now, they can use the microphone. Seems like you're doing a lot of what I do: due diligence, meeting the founders, vetting the companies, yes, framing the opportunity. I'm curious if after doing all this, if you actually then share that diligence and those contacts formally with other investors. Is there a process for that here? Or is it something where it's up to the founder to then go do that? Or maybe that's a possible feature you could add to this stack.
Exactly. Well, it is up to the founder. We definitely make introductions where we can at the founder's request, and we are about helping our customers beyond just us giving them the money. So whether it's government as a customer, as I said, we've got our own equity fund now, so we'll definitely be introducing them to our equity partners when they're at that stage there as well.
And with the equity partners, they're compensated like a normal equity firm where they get to have some upside in it, or so it really is like a traditional venture fund.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
Let's take a concise question. So your name and a concise question. Everybody remembers no pitching from the microphones. Name, question.
Okay. Alan Timms, my one question again. The you displayed up there a group called I Ching or whatever it was, the financial business. How many people in your department that have sufficient skills to inquire into a financial business that goes from nothing to $17 billion of loans in 2 years, bearing in mind that everybody in this room knows how shonky our banks and home loan businesses have been over the last few years with royal commissions? That would scare me terribly to sign off and say, let's promote this guy.
Yeah. No, and
What's the answer?
Yeah, I'll give you the answer. It can be scary, you're right, especially when we're looking at not this industry but a new industry where we don't have the data perhaps yet to support our decisions, and we are dealing with taxpayers' money as well. So what we do is we do have an investment strategies team that all come out of the finance world, so all ex-bankers as well, and we go through an external credit assessment process as well to look at the industry, to understand, looking at the founders, looking at their experience, and going through the numbers too.
Great. Let's take
we
another
just had
question.
a 2-year royal commission.
Let's
on
take
that,
another question. Thank you. Got to keep control of the microphone here. Okay. Your name.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi.
I'm not very tall. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all the information. I guess my question is, because I'm a startup myself, and I have never applied for grants before, and I have a business coach through Business Connect, and I've been looking at grants, and it's been a bit of a minefield. I've even emailed and called and done all that. So my question is, I guess my problem is that a lot of the grants are closed at certain times, and then even my business coach, who is a government initiative, is unclear about what we can. So how does that all work? It's been a bit of a minefield, that's all.
Yeah, it is. And when I came into government 2 years ago, I found exactly the same experience. So I do understand that. So I'll speak, in our products, they are open all the time.
Okay.
So there's no closing date. We just set to run our assessments on a monthly basis, but you can apply at any time, and when you do, you'll get a time frame to how long it will take to process that. I can't speak about other funding, but from what I do see when I look at the information, they do advertise the dates that they're open, but some are, yes, only open for a short period of time. Yeah. But I don't know why.
So yours are always open?
Yes,
yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take another question.
Yep. Thank you. My name is Ravi Srinivasan. Thanks, Fiona. That was fantastic. And I think what the New South Wales government is doing is fabulous.
Thanks.
Now, you mentioned grants. There are two types, the 25,000 and 20,000. So this is no strings attached, isn't it? So there's no...
Well,
other than try and create jobs.
Yeah. So, when you're a startup and you're a pre-revenue startup, it's a $25,000 grant. You don't need to show a certain amount of jobs created at the end of that. This is to give you that boost so you can take it to market more quickly and have the most chance in the future of creating jobs. There are milestones that you need to define when you apply in terms of your project for developing your MVP, and then as you hit those, you can draw down more of the grant. That's how it's structured.
Okay, and a corollary to the question. So you mentioned dollar for dollar, I believe?
Yes, match funding, yeah.
Match funding, yes. So how does that work? I mean, if I put in sweat equity, for example, spent...
Yes, so sweat equity can be counted towards that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, great question. We'll take one more question if we have it. Your name and a concise question.
Sure. My name's Sophie. So my question, I'm not pitching, but I need to say that the company I work for works with a lot of companies that apply for the MVP quote, the grant. I haven't seen a pattern in people that get it and don't. And I love the government. I work 2 floors down. You guys are the best. You're great people. But, especially you, haven't met you. But I don't see a pattern, and it would be helpful within my role to understand a little bit more between who gets it and who doesn't. And I know you have an influx, but some of these companies are awesome and they're not getting it, and some that are also awesome are not. So just any info.
So we do have obviously the eligibility criteria that I talked of, and then there's the merit criteria as well. And I guess that's kind of a bit, it's not grey in that, but it is maybe a bit more subjective. So you're looking at the economic benefits, the number of jobs that could potentially be created, the downstream industry benefits of the product as well. And it is run, as I said, in a competitive round, and we have a certain amount of funding to give away each month. So it just depends on how the quality, I guess, a lot of the time, the quality of the applicants in that month. So that's why we do encourage companies to reapply, well, to get that feedback first. And we'll absolutely, any company you've worked with that has not been successful, we will give them that feedback on why they weren't. But we do encourage them to reapply, tweak the application and reapply. Yeah.
I suppose it's similar to my business where we look at the total amount of cash deployed and the total amount of cash returned. There are a lot of moments in between those two, yes. Who we picked to invest in, who failed, who succeeded. But at the end of the day, it's money in, money out. And in your case, it's money in, jobs out. And in the case of the fund, it's return. So you can't really even look at individual grants. You have to look at the holistic nature of the program.
Absolutely. We look at the whole portfolio when working that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you get judged? I'm curious. Is it year by year, over a 5-year period, when they look at jobs and creation? I'm curious the window.
Annually, we get judged.
Got it. So that's actually even harsher than we get judged. We get looked at in a couple of years at a time in a decade-long fund. Okay. You want to do one more quick one? Okay.
Hi, David. I'm visiting from Queensland. If I'm from Queensland, am I able to apply for any of these?
Well, you have to have a New South Wales in ABN and you have to be here for the startup grants.
Yeah.
But for loans, if you're a Queensland company but you are creating jobs here that are going to stay here, so perhaps you're opening a second office, whatever, then we could do loans, yes.
So just the loans, not the grants?
No.
Got it, thank you.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Fiona. Well done. Thank you so much. Okay. It's just mind-blowing. Like, we don't have anything like this in our country, so I think it's super cool. Okay, Amado, come on up and talk a little bit about your experience at incubators and what people can learn from your journey. Let's welcome Amado Galoy.
Good afternoon. My name is Amado Galoy, and I am the CEO and founder of a company called Rex. And today we'll be talking about accelerators, incubators, and really how to best leverage them, because let's face it, running a startup sucks, and we need all the help we can get. So just a little bit about me and our company. We basically map animal genetics to performance to help livestock producers optimize yield and manage disease in their herd for healthier and more sustainable food supply. And for us, we're what's called an incubator hopper. When we launched originally in 2015, we went through a program called Techstars. And we actually pivoted to this model there, so that's one of the quick takeaways you can get from this right away. Sometimes you will pivot in the middle of an incubator program, and we're in the most recent launch incubator class right now with Jason, and I just happen to be meeting with customers here, which is why I'm now on stage talking to y'all. But as I mentioned earlier, the startup journey is really difficult, right? And in this very scientific graph that I'm showing you here, where you can leverage most of the accelerator and the incubator time is in this really after reality sets in period, where you're super stoked, you're like, hey, I'm doing stuff, and you're in the experimenting and pivoting phase, and you're starting to see it work, and you're going to be going up the tremendous hills and valleys along the way, hopefully to product market fit and scale. And for us, when we went through Techstars, we were really early in the experimenting and pivoting. Like I said, we actually pivoted through there. And fortunately for us, when we were in launch, we were getting closer to product market fit, and we were more focused on other aspects. So these are, what I'm going to talk about is also different things you should consider when looking at different programs, because not all programs are created equal. And these are really questions you should be considering asking when you're going with them. So just always remember the programs are here to help. I am a first-time entrepreneur, a scientist or an entrepreneur. I had no idea how to run a business, so I didn't know what I didn't know. And while it might seem to really be, you have your pride where you're like, hey, I'm not going to ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can. There is no stupid question at all, because they are here to help. And surely they have gone through everything that you have gone through or are about to go through, and they really want what's best for you and your company. And then when looking at any program, you really have to consider kind of the value of the network and what it brings to your company, because you have to consider who are the people that this program can connect me to, and how will that help in terms of what's really important, which is value creation. And the most important aspect of any incubator accelerator program is the cohort you're in, because these are people you spend the next 3 months of your life with, drinking, crying, bitching, doing everything. You're all struggling. You're all on the same journey. You are about to be hazed into, the fraternity, sorority that is Startup Founders. And they will be your, they ride deep, they roll deep with you. They will be there for you as you will be for them, whether you're fundraising, whether you're about to shut down your company, whether you're doing really well. You'd be amazed at the kind of friendships that can form in a matter of 3 months. And sometimes the people who are successful, they end up being investors or other people that can help along the way, or if they fail, you basically know really good tech talent that you can hire right away. The second thing you can really consider from any program is customer base. And this applies more to programs that are industry focused. So when we went through Techstars, it was really more on a mobile health, animal health focus, and they were able to introduce us to some of our early adopters, early customers. In the United States, because they were actually mentors who saw us through our pivot, helped us design the new product and do that. But if you're not enterprise or more consumer, you can actually just rely on the network. You can send an email to all of the alumni and say, hey, can you try this out? I know I get dozens of emails a day from our the Techstars network saying, hey, we're doing these different things. Would you mind tweeting it out or giving it a try or giving a review? And it's definitely a value that you can bring to both your network and theirs. But let's face it, what are we really here to listen about? Why are you listening to me ramble on? It's about investors. How are we going to get money through a program? And the best way to go through any program is to really use it as a forcing function to get people to commit. So one of our investors always told me, it's basically you're either going to be begging for scraps or you're oversubscribed. And one of the biggest value adds through launch for us was we were trying to fundraise before. And then when Jason let us into the program, we basically had a forcing function on those investors. Because through a program like Launch, we said, hey, we're about to meet 60 to 70 investors over the course of the next 3 months. So they might be excited about us, they might not be, but you need to make a decision or someone else will. And we'd rather go with them. So one of the best ways you can consider is like looking at the investors that you're going to be introduced to, whether they're mentors, partners, or anything part in the program, is how will they add value beyond their cash. They're just ATMs until they can provide more value. So you always want to take and consider smart money in that aspect. And so, part of this, again, is about building FOMO, the fear of missing out, and building momentum for your raise. And so throughout the entire time, if you look at different programs, whether it's Techstars, Y Combinator, Launch, you're always building to a culminating demo day. So for Launch, for the winner of this, it's the Angel Demo Summit or one of the other festivals. It's where you basically get to present at the world. And the other aspect that you have to consider when fundraising is the halo effect of the people who run that program. Through Techstars, it was the halo effect of David Cohen and Brad Feld, and then through Launch, obviously, it's the halo effect of Jason himself, where he knows how to fund startups. Like, he's found multiple unicorns. And so you need to consider who are they going to intro you, and who are the people who's going to be picking up their phone calls or picking up their emails. And that, when you sort of have a lot in your process, you want it shrunk down in this time. And that's really the best way to go from I'm begging for scraps to being literally oversubscribed and sort of having to be like, no, I'm only taking the best money possible. But all this really wouldn't be possible unless you do the work. With any accelerator or incubator program, you have to put in the work, and whatever you put in is basically what you get out of it. And hopefully you can have multiples. And so in closing, if you are applying to different ones, if you saw my Twitter account earlier, I could totally help out, or you could just reach out to me afterwards and I'll exchange emails. I'll be like, all right, I'll look at your accelerator application. But that's pretty much it. And so if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to take them. Thank you.
If there are any questions, we can take them at the stage, at the mic back there. While we're waiting for this, Amano, maybe talk a little bit about what led you to join a second incubator, having gone through one again while we wait for questions.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we went through it fundamentally was I suck at storytelling. And I told you guys that up front. I'm a scientist turned entrepreneur. So I was always caught in the scientific minutia of what we were doing. And we met Jason through a program called Founder University, and he basically turns pitches. Like, you'll tell him something of what you do in 2 minutes, and he'll repeat your story back to you better. And that was
how much better?
It was,
how much?
It was
a lot better?
I mean, we got term sheets now,
okay,
right?
Good.
And we
yeah.
didn't have before. So that was why. I mean, it's steep, right? Like, we already went through one and we had to give up another 6%. But my investors also said, Amado, this is not about your current company. This is about your company, your next company, your company after that. You suck at storytelling. Jason's a master at storytelling. So you might as well personally invest in this development to do it. How are you liking my plug?
What's that? No, it's good.
So that's the storytelling aspect is amazing. Because
We're
once you
seeing
have
a lot
that,
of people go to 2 incubators now in the States. I don't know if people do it here. They call it incubator hopping. And some people have been critical of it. I think if you look at it, most incubators in the States take 6% for 100K. There are some that take 10% for 25K and some that, have even worse terms. It's very easy. Just look at each of those programs, whether it's Y Combinator, ourselves, and the ones you have here. Figure out what the cash component equals in terms of your current valuation. So let's say it was a $5 million valuation. The 100K, might equal 2 points or something. And if your valuation was 4, it might equal a little more. And then the rest of the points come in kind. So if you gave 3 or 4 points in kind for the program, that's what the firm gets for running the program. Does your firm equal more than 4%? Is it more than 4% more valuable? So I guess that's what you would have to ask yourself. Now, of course, you don't want to dilute and go to 5 of these, but even doing the intellectual exercise, if you went to 3 that were Y Combinator, Techstars, and I don't know what's another good
Launch.
one. Launch, right, sure, mine. If you went to all 3 of those, and that was 18%, and you raised 300 or 350K from doing that, that wouldn't actually be the worst outcome for your first seed round of financing. You'd probably meet 500 investors who would know who you are, you would know how to pitch, you would know everybody, so it could be valuable. It just takes also the time. Talk about the time commitment. How much time, both programs you went to were 12 weeks,
yeah.
But how much of your time did you have to put into the program versus the company that you wouldn't have had to, that you would have had to put directly into the company? In other words, what was the management of the program's extra additional cost, if any?
Yeah, so with Techstars, that's when we pivoted. So we actually created new recs during that time. So it was 100% both doing. Yeah. The big advantage with Launch was, like I said, for us earlier, was the storytelling, being able to practice in front of really qualified investors, and basically having a process for fundraising without having to make our own process, because there were 6 to 8 investors every week that we would meet with. But I would also say, other than the kind of cash component, there's the intangible benefits of it, right? Like, the more you practice, it's not just about getting better at pitching investors, it's getting better at pitching employees, why you should join the company. It's getting better at pitching customers, why you should why you should give us money as well. And when you look at that value, it is way, if you put in the work, it's worth way more than the 6% you're giving, because you have to think multiples and compounding effect. If going through a program means you're going to be capped from a 5 million valuation, but going through a program means now you know your value to where you can have a $500 million valuation. What's 6%?
Okay, let's take a question. Your name and a concise question. Thank you for everybody for concise questions. I think that's really helped the last 2 days, having concise questions. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm on. I'm Elle. I'm actually just got into the Blue Chili Accelerate program. Which
Congratulations. We don't know what
you.
that is, but let's give her a round of applause for that.
Australian one.
Some support. Where is that based? Here or?
Yeah, based in
Blue
Sydney.
Chili?
Blue Chili is the, they run the program and they partner with Coca-Cola Amatil to build the Accelerate program. It's the first
Great.
time.
What's the
It's
deal?
exciting. It's for non-tech based founders. So
Got it.
they give you a team to help you develop.
They give you 100,000 for 6%. Like, what's the deal?
Oh, it's
the business deal.
15% for 38 grand, and
Whoa.
then a team.
Sorry. We all just have the same. That's 15% for $38,000. Whoa, that is.
Oh, yeah, and the tech build is free, which is worth like 100 grand, probably, right? So
The what is free?
all the tech, all the team. You have a whole project team to
got
help
it,
you
got it,
build
got it.
your
Okay,
product.
so it's
for
probably
me,
100,000 in real value.
40
Got
grand,
it.
yeah. And
Okay.
I wouldn't have done it without it. So
Got it.
for me, it's the perfect
So they
opportunity.
literally build the product for you? They're developers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you have an entire product team.
Got it.
Yeah.
So they
Who are
build it for
amazing.
you. That's why they get 15%. Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
They're worth it, I
Okay,
think.
great.
Well, I don't know. I haven't started yet. But
Let us know
I
by the
think
end.
So. Basically, my question was more like, how do you get the most out of it and before you start? So I'm starting next Tuesday. I'm more just like, how do I prepare? How do I get my ducks in a row kind of thing?
So, you know, the whole mental preparation is just making sure that you're going to be working your ass off for the next 3, 6, whatever months is, and making sure you have both the mental and physical stamina for that. The best way to prepare before you go into this massive sprint is to rest. Basically, the week before, just do anything but that startup, because for the next constant 24 hours, you know, for the next 3 months, that's all you're going to be doing. You're going to be living, eating, breathing your startup. My recommendation in this case also is, I don't know if you have a team, but finding someone who can help you manage the details with whatever team you're working with, basically having that support, because running a startup on your own is really hard. And you need your founding team, you need a co-founder to manage all the craziness you're about to do, so good luck on all that. But really, my best practical advice is don't do anything related to your startup the week before. Remember that you have a life, because afterwards, it's going to be hard to transition back to, you know, I have a life, there are other things I have responsibilities for, once you've gotten into that mode, and you want to be healthy,
I would
mentally and physically.
also consider deleting Twitter and Instagram off your phone and turning off your Netflix account so you can be focused and present during that incubator. And I would talk to people who've been through the incubator. People ask me, should I do your incubator, should I do Y Combinator? Just talk to the graduates. And it's very simple. Ask them if they would do it again. And they typically will say, of course, yeah, sure. Well, that's confirmation bias. They made the choice, so of course they're going to immediately say that. And then say, okay, great. Tell me why you would do it again, and would you actually do it again given what you know now? Like, think about it for a second. Would you really do it again for the same deal or not? And you might, by asking that second time and giving them an opportunity to restate it and not give the snap decision, you might get, well, I wouldn't do it again, but you should do it, right? The other thing to do is, and this is why with our incubator, when we interview people, I don't actually do the interviews until the end. We have the alumni come, and I'm not even there in the building that day. I literally stay home from work that day. And I have, Amato did it last week, I have all of the top folks from the incubator, people whose companies have failed, I have them do the interviews so that by the time they get to me, if they're on the short list of people who want to accept, they've already met 5 or 6 graduates. And so did you get to meet any of the graduates of the program?
We had a huge team, and
Perfect.
I knew quite a few of them. I've been following Blue Chili for years. So
You may
it's
also
pretty
want to ask 2 or 3 people who have been through the program or who are successful founders to be advisors to your company, offer them 50 basis points, half a point, vested over 2 years, monthly, and then just write like a letter agreement. You'll be an advisor, you'll vest your shares once, 1/24th each month, 1/24th, yeah, and then here's what we expect: a phone call, a lunch, and introductions, whatever it is, every month, and in the amount. And if you line those three up, then I would set up a regular meeting where every week you're meeting with one of them in addition to your program, right? And that could be very accretive to what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, and just a quick addition to that, make sure that you get into a cadence of updating these people and also that your program, because once you graduate, that's really important because these people are going to help you through the life of your company and your next one. So keeping them abreast of everything that's going on is always really good.
Okay, great. We have time for one more if you want to do it. Go ahead. Yeah. Lightning question.
Mark here. My question is just in regards to like people that are geographically isolated. Are there sort of startup academies that work online or like actually get people to those spaces?
You're going to want to move to that location for 12 weeks and just enjoy that process, find an Airbnb or whatever, and just dump yourself into it and enjoy it. Don't do it remote. It won't work.
Yeah, you need the people, you need the exposure to your cohort and the different mentors and investors that you're going to be exposed to because it's always different face-to-face versus Skype or whatever method of virtual meetings that you're going to have.
Okay, quick question. Let's give it up for Amato Galore. Thank you, Amato. Okay, next up is one of the most considered, intelligent, and happiest people I know. Jen co-wrote the book Delivering Happiness with my good friend Tony Hsieh. You may know him from Zappos, and she is going to talk to us about building a sustainable culture. Please give a warm Launch Festival Sydney welcome to Jen Lim. Where is she? There she is.
Dang, Jason, I never knew you to be so kind. I do. I'll have to live up to that. Thanks for the intro. Thanks for having me, launch team, Calacanis. Just want to say thanks for having me. I'm really actually excited to speak with you all. How you guys feeling, by the way? Good? Yeah? Energy? Food coma? A little bit? So why I'm so excited is I usually I very rarely speak with entrepreneurs and founders these days, and I want to get more into it because it's so important in terms of like listening and hearing like the origins of where we all started. And I thought about on the way over here in the flight, I thought about Zappos, I thought about Delivering Happiness when we first started, and the question kept on coming up like, what is this thing called culture, and why is it so important? And especially as founders, when you're going through the thick and thin of things, sometimes the last thing on your mind is this thought of culture, and let alone happy cultures. So hopefully by the end of this, everyone will get a better sense of why it matters, the lessons learned that we've had along the way, and hopefully by the end of it, also the how, and how you actually implement it in your own company. So before I get into that, I just wanted to take a quick poll of the audience. How many people have heard of Zappos? Let's start there. Okay, sweet. And then how many people have heard of Delivering Happiness? First it was a book, thanks, 2010, and now company, cool. All right, and then how many people, raise their hands, if you had to guess the percentage of people that are inherently unhappy in the workplace right now, in the whole world, what would you have to guess? Just raise a hand. Let's start at 20, 40, oh, well, someone's done her homework, 60, 80, 90? All right, so, well, you already knew. It's actually at 87%, but and so the reality is it's actually increasing over time. And so the last question I'll ask for now, and this is about your own personal happiness. Raise a hand. How many people in the audience who do you think feel you know how to predict your own personal sustainable happiness? Raise the hands. Wow. Pretty happy bunch. I guess that kind of comes to the territory of being an entrepreneur. But it's really interesting because I ask that question all over the world, and it never fails. 1 to 5% of the room actually raises their hand. But I guess to be a founder, you have to be pretty optimistic. So going through the history a little bit of DH, Delivering Happiness. So Zappos started back in 1999, and Tony became the CEO around 2000. I joined as a consultant shortly thereafter, and then about 2008, We were able to hit the goal of a billion-dollar company 2 years before we were supposed to. And then a lot of people asked, how did you guys do that? And one of the big things that we said was that we want to make sure people know it wasn't like an overnight success. When we got acquired by Amazon, it was a lot of ups and downs. So that's one of the big reasons why we even wanted to write the book, is to be able to share those ups and downs to let everyone know what the reality was. And then book launched, that was 2010, and we literally thought we were just going to check it off the list of things to do. And lo and behold, there was a really good response. And we eventually got translated into 20 languages, and the realization was that there was a tipping point of what happiness could actually mean, not just for businesses, but for us as individuals. So that's why Tony and I decided to evolve it into a company. So that's kind of where we are today. And essentially what we do is help service organizations around the world in helping them figure out, how do you actually not just create culture, but how do you actually sustain it over time? So that's a quick timeline, but on the way over here, on the flight, was thinking about one point that we were missing from that timeline, and that was in 2012, the last time when we were in Sydney. And that's me and Tony in the right there, looking totally like geeks up there, but we did make the climb up there, so that was kind of cool. And so it's just reminiscing on last time we were here, only because it's kind of cool to come back to the roots of what you guys are all doing here in Sydney in terms of entrepreneurship. So going back to the case study of Zappos, a lot of people knew it when they first started as a great customer service company. And the reality, though, not many people knew at that time, was that wasn't their internal priority at all. Their actual priority was actually company culture. And so the whole thought there was that if you get company culture right, then things like having amazing customer service and engaged employees and just more productive people actually come more naturally. So this was kind of like all of a thought experiment at Zappos, because we really didn't know what we were doing. It was all very much testing over time to see what this petri dish of a focus on culture could be. So a couple of things that we tried out back in the day. And how do you make something like kind of culture, it's kind of amorphous, a priority? So one of the things we did was actually paid people to quit. I don't know if you guys heard about this whole thing, but basically everyone that comes in as a trainee at Zappos has 5 weeks of training, and during those 5 weeks they have a standing offer to take a check and walk out that door, no questions asked. And the reason is because Zappos really wants every single one of their employees to actually embody what those values are, to actually add to the culture, not just feel like they need to be delivered culture to them. And so the interesting thing is when we wrote the book, we worked on the book in 2010, so we had estimated Zappos had lost $100 million to that date because of bad hires. So by actually running this program, and we first started, it was only started at $100. You could walk out the door, it went to 200, 500, 1,000, and now it's actually at $5,000. And the reason why they keep upping it is because not enough people are taking it. If you think about the math, because in the end, the reality is like every bad, wrong hire that you have, it'll cost you 150 to 300% of that person's salary. So at the end of the day, the reason why they keep on raising this is because it actually saves Zappos money in the end. Another thing we did was the Zappos Culture Book. So this is something I helped create 15 years ago. And the key here was to create a book and to answer the question, how do you define company culture? So we didn't know how to define it, so we said, well, why don't we ask our employees? So every year we would ask them to submit what they thought Zappos culture meant to them. But the key was that we completely published everything unedited. So all the good stuff was in there and the bad stuff was in there. And so as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as we think about culture and what we want to do in terms of being able to scale this over time, the question is, would you be willing to publish every single word your employees say about your culture, and whether or not you would be proud or not so proud of that? So this is just one example of one company, Zappos, that focused on two things, customer service and company culture, and it eventually became the several billion-dollar company it is today, and as many of you know, was acquired by Amazon for about $1.2 billion several years ago. But what's great is that it's not just Zappos doing it anymore. There's actually a lot more other companies doing it. And after all these years, 15, 20 years of doing this stuff, if I can impart something that we learn, it's really this simple equation, is that if you can create an environment where you have happier employees, that'll equal happier customers, and that will actually equal a more profitable, sustainable business. But more importantly, now more than ever, you're not only doing that, but you're actually creating more meaningful lives. So if you're thinking about this, and going to the whole happiness topic, which I want to talk about a little bit more and why it matters, I just wanted to pull a few real-world examples. We've got Renee in the top right-hand corner. She just got her financial statement from Merrill Lynch. Thought she'd be a happy girl, unfortunately not the case. Then we got Stella in the bottom right. She's just unhappy because her mom won't upgrade her phone. But seriously though, I'd love to ask everyone in this room, what are your own personal goals in life? And what's really curious about this question is no matter how you answer it or who you're asking, I want to build a successful company, I want to raise a family, I want to be healthier. No matter who you ask, if you answer that question enough times, it actually comes back to happiness. I want to be happy, or I want to make sure the people that I love are happy too. So what's really interesting about this is that, and when we talk about happiness, it's the science of happiness and positive psychology. So what the science is telling us is that we as human beings are actually hardwired to seek this happiness, yet we're fundamentally really, really bad at predicting for the long term. And we hear it all the time when people say, oh yeah, when I get this, I'll be happy. When I get my first round of funding, I'll be happy. When I get to my first $1 million in revenue, I'll be happy. But it keeps on going, going, going. And then the question is, okay, so when does it actually get there? So I started reflecting on this quite a bit because I found it super ironic that here I am talking about happiness all over the world, because I wasn't one of those happy-go-lucky people at all. Growing up in school, I was the one in the back room with my Walkman on, listening to songs by The Cure and Depeche Mode. I see a lot of nodding heads. I mean, I'm talking about the hardcore old stuff, not the pop 40. And I was just like ruminating on life. I was reading books like L'Étranger by Albert Camus, reading in French, can't get much gloomier than that. And again, asking all these existential questions of why. So I started reflecting, and I'm about to go through this exercise that we go through with all of our clients, and something that you might want to do as well. So anyway, I started reflecting, and I realized, okay, Asian American, my parents were from Hong Kong. They immigrated decades ago. And for whatever reason in that household, I thought there were 3 quintessential ways to be successful in life. Number 1, get into a good school. Number 2, become a doctor and a lawyer. And number 3, learn a variety of musical instruments. So for me, I thought I had it made. I got into UC Berkeley, I was studying pre-med, and I had a few years of piano under my belt. But when I started studying it, I was just like, this is just not me. So I started wandering, and I stumbled upon something called Asian American Studies. So this is an actual major at Cal. And I just got super passionate about it because I learned all these things about myself, about all my ancestors and what they did to help build the United States. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to major in it. And so I picked up the phone to let my parents know. And you can probably predict the next scene. They completely freaked out. They said, Asian American Studies? Why don't you just come home more often? We'll tell you what your Asian American Studies is about. We're working all these jobs for you and your brothers. We are giving so many opportunities we could never dream of. Your grandparents sailed the Pacific Ocean in a tiny little boat and almost died, so that now you're going to tell us you're studying yourself. And I was like, damn, they're good at this guilt thing. But I stood my ground, I finished, I graduated, and I remember that moment very, very precisely. I was in my room, in my apartment, and it was deathly quiet, and I realized what my parents were talking about because I couldn't find a job. So it was my turn to freak out, and I started cold calling every single company I knew, and luckily for me, the internet was born. I was in Silicon Valley, and I became an internet consultant at KPMG. And you guys know the story. The dot-com boomed, and the money title status just fell in my lap, literally like overnight. And you know the end of that story. The dot-com busted, and the money title status was gone. I got laid off, and I felt like a total loser. But it wasn't because I got fired was why I felt like a loser. It was because I thought the money, title, status meant everything when it really didn't matter as much in the end. So that's when I realized I was running away from the question, what would I actually do with my life if I did not fear failure? So if you read the book, Delivering Happiness, that's when I climbed up, well, first I called up Tony, and I called him and said, hey, I need to do something. I know I don't know actually where I want to go, but I know I don't want to go back where I came from. So I said, let's climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And he said, sure, let's do this. So if you can imagine us, here we are, we're in our 20s, climbing this mountain. I just got laid off from my job. Tony just sold his company, Link Exchange, to Microsoft for about $280 million. So obviously at the opposite ends of the financial spectrum. But what was really cool and interesting is like we didn't realize until we started working on this book together was that we were thinking the same exact question, which was, what would we actually do with our lives if money did not matter? So we actually summoned a thing. It was like straight out of a movie, sunrise over the Serengeti, and we were both thinking anything can be possible. And so then we go back to our own lives. But then that moment happened, and that moment happens to everyone in this room at least once, if not multiple times. It feels like your life does a 180 or the rug gets pulled out from under your feet. And for me, it was facing my greatest fear. And basically, my greatest fear was losing someone in my life I couldn't imagine life without, and that was my dad. I lost him to colon cancer. So then that really drove me again to ask those questions, why? And I just looked at life like a green field. I just started doing things I was super passionate about. I started doing creative writing and graphic design, just things that were meaningful to me. And then at this point, that's when, in a weird way, I discovered my real core values, which was not the money, title, status. It was based on the people that I love, because I knew if I made decisions on that, I would never look back with regret. So in a weird parallel way, that's when Tony went back to his life, invested his own money into it, and the rest kind of became history from there. But what that started for Zappos was a journey of understanding their higher purpose. It wasn't about selling shoes anymore, because that's what it did when it first grew up. But they realized, we want to be the best at customer service, and we want to be the best at delivering happiness to our employees. So fast forward several years later, that's when Delivering Happiness was born. And I'm just going to pause here because this is the exercise that we do with all our clients and something you might consider as well for yourself. It's called the Happiness Heartbeat exercise. And it's actually really simple. All I did was basically plot the highs and lows of my own life. And at every one of those moments, the feeling is it's not just the highs that define our own happiness, it's actually the lows that help define it just as much. So just thinking through these things and asking these questions for myself, I started realizing what true, meaningful happiness was. And so where it comes back to you as a founder is that we apply these to companies. So if you think about the highs and lows of your own company and think about what values were there or not there, what people there or not there, that's actually starting to inform you how you can actually sustain your own company over time. So what's interesting now is, again, this was 15 years ago when we started doing this stuff, but the ROI is very apparent, whether it's the HBR, Harvard Business Review, or Time Magazine, time and time again, no matter what size, what industry your company is in, or geography, it shows that you'll have better retention, people just want to stick around, and you'll have better engagement, more sales, more productivity, and in the end, more profit. So again, this is not just Zappos, this is shown around the world. This is just a chart showing for the Fortune best companies to work for. In the last 15 years, time and time again, essentially, when they double down on people, that outperformed the S&P 500. So you guys know this guy too? My Uncle Joe? So what's amazing is that we have all this data, but this is what we have all over the world. 87% of the workforce is fundamentally disengaged, and that's causing us a loss of productivity of $500 billion just in the US alone. So I really wanted to think why. And going meta on you is over all these years, what did I learn? We went through a lot of phases. As human beings, we went from the agrarian phase as farmers, then we went to the industrial phase, and then eventually the technology phase. And I feel we were at this point where I call the adaptive age. And the reason why is because the pace of change is surpassing anything we've ever seen in the world. We've got the Internet of Everything, where our phones connect to our laptop, connected to the chair you're probably sitting in, and it's creating this amazing connected neural network of nodes, whether we're information or data. So it's awesome, but it's incredibly complex. And so that's why I believe it's really pushing us as a global society to really understand what this meaningful happiness is all about. It's really pushing us to say, how do we actually become more self-aware of who we are, what our values are, our why. Why did I start this company? Why did I choose to come to Sydney to create a startup? All these questions that come up along the way, I'm seeing it all over the world and being able to answer those in a meaningful way so that we can answer it on a day-to-day basis. So that's why I'm calling this the adaptive age, because more than ever, and this leads into happiness, is that we want to be able to control and change what we can, but at the same time, we want to be able to adapt and embrace what we can't. And there's a quote I love from Darwin. He said that it's not the strongest or fittest that survive, it's those that are actually most willing to change. So back in the day, they thought, Mr. Jobs thought, hey, let's think different, but I really think now more than ever, we have to work differently too. And that's why I was decided to talk to you folks, because this is where it all starts as new entrepreneurs. So I'm going to shift one gear here and talk about the science of happiness. And essentially, these are the levers that have been researched to show how can we increase our happiness with our teams and within ourselves. So number one is a sense of control. And this is, do I feel like I'm able to make decisions? Do I feel like I'm being respected for them? And one really simple example, and doesn't cost any money at all, is when companies actually allow their employees to make up their own titles. So I think Jack Ma does this at Alibaba, and the theme is, if you were a kung fu hero, what would your title be? So I think like his is bad boss or something, but I don't know, what would yours be? For me, I think I'd be called the drunken master, but everyone would have their own flavor of what that title would be. So that just is giving a sense of control and doesn't cost any money at all. Another great example is there's a doctor's office. This guy came up to me after one of my talks. He said, I know exactly what you mean because I love going to my doctor's office. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, who loves that? And he said, last time I went to the receptionist, she greeted me with a smile. She gave me her gave me her business card. And on her business card was the title, Director of First Impressions. Simple, cheap, and made her feel in control. Second thing is sense of progress. So this is, are you learning, are you developing? Making sure, especially in a startup environment, there's always going to be 50 million things more that you have to do. So how do you make sure every one of your team knows that there is a place to say, hey, look at what we've done. Celebrate that, and then also say, look, what more we have to go. Just from that act alone can actually increase sustainable happiness. Third thing is connectedness, and this is simply the breadth and depth of your relationships. And I'm not talking about happy hours and ping pong tables. I'm talking about true, meaningful connection that happens when people share their senses of passion, when people share their own values, when people actually share that happiness heartbeat exercise. You get to know that person so much more meaningfully. And the last lever that we talk about in the science of happiness, and this one is the biggie, and it's because it answers that question that I posed at the beginning of this, which is, how do you sustain your own personal happiness, and therefore how do you sustain the happiness of your company? And time again, it always goes back to this, the idea of vision and meaning. Purpose. You know, what is it that you're doing that's bigger than yourself? What is it that your company's doing that's bigger than making money? And so what we found here is kind of this aha moment, 15 years ago, I guess, that individual happiness and the happiness of a company, i.e. sustainability, are really parallel. Because in the end, we as human beings need our pleasures. You know, we need to go out and have drinks with our friends. We need to buy a pair of shoes, whatever that might be. And for companies, we know that we need profits. Otherwise, there's no happiness to talk about. But now we know more than ever, unless you layer on those ideas of having a sense of passion and having a sense of higher purpose, that the odds of you sustaining that own happiness for yourself or the sustainability of your culture are that much more against you. So that's kind of going over the levers and the why. And so now I want to talk about the how. of how we've done it with Zappos and now over the years with our clients at Delivering Happiness. And so these are essentially the basic frameworks of what every company we've worked with has done to successfully sustain their culture. And so on the bottom there, you see values and behaviors. So it's basically being able to define what the values are for your company, but not just having like 10 words on the wall of integrity, communication, but actually defining behaviors out of that. So being able to say black and white, what exactly does integrity mean? As an example, I believe, I don't know if you guys remember that story of Enron back in the 90s. I think their first core value was integrity. So, good example of something's gone wrong. And it's happening all the time now with Wells Fargo, with Uber. It's just, you see so many cases of this, of like, what are your true values and how do you actually act them on a day-to-day basis? So in the middle there is the science of happiness levers, and that's just what I talked about, connectedness, control, and progress. So those levers are how you put it sandwiched in the middle, and at the very top is the sense of higher purpose. And so at the end, if you can align your whole company along these 3 pillars of what culture means, that means you can actually sustain it. And this is just a quick slide to show how you actually align it and live it, so that every organizational system you have, rewards and recognition, onboarding, offboarding, even meetings. How do you carry on meetings and communicate? If you take this foundation and filter all of your organizational systems through it, the odds of you actually living that culture without top down or bottom up, it actually is going to be increased. So that was the what framework, and then this is the who. And this is very simple. It's the me, we community model. And why we start with me in the middle is because at the end of the day, you have the ultimate control and sense of who you are. 90% of our brain's happiness and therefore unhappiness actually goes through this. So if we can create environments where we can focus on bringing our whole selves to work, not just with our work hat or not just with our life hat, but actually make sure everyone feels they're living truly authentically to their, we call it weird selves, so that everyone feels that freedom, but at the same time there's accountability as a founder and entrepreneur as to what do they do. So that's me in the middle, and then we is basically your team dynamics, and community, which is obviously your customers, but also your partners and vendors, and essentially everyone that's in your ecosystem that you're touching. So if you can try and align it along this way where it starts in the middle of me and emanate out, then things like having a higher purpose and strong culture can actually emanate as your company grows and changes. One thing I want to talk about is ROI, because a lot of questions will come around this. As an investor, as anyone in your company, as a CFO. So the thought about ROI is that this is actually more measurable than ever. So basically, if you look at these 2 lines, we also not just talk about customer lifetime value, we talk about employee lifetime value. So why ELT matters, if you think about a life cycle, you'll have this moment where you're recruiting someone or you're basically training them, and then you want to have them engaged, so you're managing them, and then eventually they'll probably leave. So this is a great example of a way to actually measure the ROI. So if you think about it, let's just pick any one of those points of a life cycle. Let's say it's retention, and right now your average tenure is like 6 months. So what we're showing here in the ROI is that if you develop these cultural programs and you're actually sustaining them, then their tenure goes from, instead of 6 months, it goes to like 1.5 years or 2 years. And so from that simple point, you can actually calculate the value what you're getting by being able to initiate and sustain these culture initiatives. I'll leave with a couple examples, so hopefully this might be pertinent to where you're at or where you will be, because at the end of the day, all these companies at one time were startups too. So there was a really cool startup in Austin, Texas. And it's called Alamo Drafthouse. And basically, they started in Austin as, like, their mission and purpose was just to be able to reinvent the art of watching movies again, bring it back to the roots of, like, why is it important to have this good experience. So if someone's phone goes off in the middle of a movie, or if someone arrives late, they'll immediately kick them out, and they won't let them back in. So it's interesting, like, this is okay, so here's this one really passionate company, and then they succeeded, and they did really well as a startup, and then the company got funded and eventually wanted to grow, and actually they're now scaling 30 other locations in the United States. So what was really interesting about this is like the CEO came to one of my talks and saw this whole culture thing, and it totally transformed his idea of what he was doing. He was so like basically just grounded in the business of just doing the work every day. He forgot his higher purpose. He forgot the why. And he had this like really emotional breakthrough. And so then from this point on, what he did was he took those values, the why of why they started, and he used it as a blueprint for every other location in the US to be able to use as the founding culture tenets. And at the same time, give them the freedom to be able to take those tenets and run with them in their own way. So that's Alamo. And then there's Tom's Shoes, if you're familiar with this brand. When we first met, and we met the founder, Blake, and this was back in the day, so he was just really befuddled. He couldn't figure out, he's like, why is it that, you know, we're doing so well, we're growing ×2 every year, and all of a sudden we have these factions in our culture. So there's like the old schoolers versus the new schoolers. So you have the old schoolers sitting on one side, looking at the new schoolers, thinking, they have no idea the blood, sweat, and tears we had to go through to get to this point. And then we got the new schoolers on this side saying, dude, what are these people doing? Like, how can they still be doing the same old stuff like from years ago? And so it just got worse and worse as they grew. So we said, well, we're a little biased. We think the solution is culture. So they went through this whole year-long time to go through this process of really establishing the values, really establishing the purpose, and they rolled it out to the whole company. And then about a year after that, we got an email from the CPO, the Chief People Officer, and she said, you wouldn't believe it, it actually worked. And the people aren't coming because they were talking about what divided them, but they came to work because they were talking about what united them in the first place. So just 2 case studies, and really bringing it back to this equation that we've learned. Happier employees equals happier customers equals more successful, profitable business, but also more meaningful lives that you're creating as a founder or an entrepreneur. So just to wrap it all up, this question kind of is the baseline of what we do. It's like, if this is what all the data is showing, and this is what it makes sense in terms of like the science of it, and in terms of the business sense of it, and essentially the human sense of it, that we as people can actually make a dent in our happiness, what all this mean for yourself as an individual, and what might this mean for your company that you're growing? So I would just want to offer free tools that we give. If you want a copy of this presentation or a copy of the culture book that I mentioned earlier, and we also have this Culture Pulse survey that we just launched. So essentially 10 to 15 minutes if you want to get a sense of where your culture is and where your pain points and opportunities are. We'll send that to you as well. So you can go to that URL, or you can just shoot me an email or tweet us. So just end it with this. This is something that I think about a lot because, you know, this whole thing about, especially as entrepreneurs and founders, like everyone's like, yeah, we want to change the world. We want to change the world. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's cool. And the great thing about it is that now more than ever we can. We have the ability, we have the resources, we almost have no excuse not to. But then the question becomes how? How are you actually going to change the world? And what really crystallized it for me was this quote I read from a poet. His name is Rumi. And he said, when I was clever, I wanted to change the world. But when I got wise, I knew I had to change myself first. So the thought there is that if you change your world, together we can change the world. Thanks for your time. I'd love to hear from you.
Wow, well done. I can always tell when it's a good speaker because everybody's always checking their magical device, and then all the magical devices got put away to watch the magic on the stage. While people line up to the microphone, we'll be able to take 1 or 2 questions. Let me ask you, what are the simple techniques that people can go back to their office today, next week, and just implement that don't cost any money, that don't take a ton of time, and that they don't have to overthink? What are the simple layups to really start building that culture if you've never paid attention to it at all because you've been so busy with your product or building your team or raising money?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is simple to think about those values that I talked about. And like as an example, if your team is 5 people, just have like an exercise, a meeting for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever it is, for everyone to define their values. And then come together and basically go through the whole discussion of like, why does this matter? Why does this not matter as much? So once you have those values, then you're going to be able to address all those other like difficulties along the way of rewards and recognition, hiring, firing, all that through that. So at least you have a foundation. And that's actually really simple just to start that.
What are some of the values that you think are super powerful for companies to have in 2018? What are the values that we should focus on that will make us successful and also make the world better?
I actually think right now, because with all the clients that we've been working with, the number one issue, never fails, is still communication, which is ironic because we have all these ways to communicate with each other now, yet that's still the number one problem. So I think the number one value for this time is transparency.
Got it. Let's take a concise question. I see somebody at the microphone there. Go ahead. We'll have time for 2.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for the great talk. Quick question. How does holacracy, I think that's something that was applied at Zappos, how does that fit into the DH framework? Thanks.
Great question. Thanks for asking that. So we don't necessarily subscribe specifically to holacracy because it's an actual example of self-management, a very specific one. But what we subscribe to is self-management as a whole in terms of how it's changing organizations around the world. So holacracy has a constitution, all that stuff, way to run meetings, very specific. But with self-management in general, we're a big proponent of that and being able to infuse those kind of principles in the things that we do.
Yeah, when I talked to Tony about that, it seemed like you were taking a little bit of holacracy, a little bit of what you develop yourself and kind of rolling your own community and your own vision and your own organizational structures. Is that the right way to do it, is to sort of pick and choose from these different disciplines what works for you?
It is. And what's interesting is that, so we're friendly with the holacracy folks, and that's what they're seeing that people are doing, is not taking 100% all holacracy. They're actually they're picking and choosing and doing a blend of what good elements that they have with their own culture, which makes it more authentic and real, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let's give it up for Jen. Well done. Okay, so we're now going to set up for our pitch competition. We had 5 pitch competitions, as you know. Republic did their equity crowdfunding. We did cryptocurrency yesterday as well. We did our I wish this startup existed / I want to promote my startup and raise money for it competition. For those of you here, you get the joke. That one seemed to be hit or miss. We may have to refine that competition a wee bit. But now comes really my 2 favorite categories. One is year 1. So we're going to do our competition for year 1. Let me bring up our 3 judges, Stonely Baptiste, Emily Rich, and Kim Jackson. Come on up from Urbanus, M8 Venture, and Skip Capital. We're going to give each of these companies 3 minutes. We'll give them 1 minute of questions, and then we'll give them 1 minute to respond. So this is going to be lightning fast, and it's going to be tight, and we're going to do it right. Okay. And let me just take one more moment to thank our friends at Republic for sponsoring the event. Can we give them a big round of applause? Appreciate that. Why don't, Stonely, you sit here, and I'll sit on the end since I'm the least important in this equation. Okay, hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out. Okay, let's bring out our first company, and that company is Crave. We now have 3 minutes on the clock. Are you ready? Tell us your name.
Jessica Cons.
Nice to meet you, Jessica, even though we've met already twice. Jessica, are you ready? You nervous?
Ready as I'll ever be, and not nervous, just excited.
Okay, good. That's an answer I like. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Great. So Jessica Cons, I'm the founder of Crave. We are revolutionising the way that customers discover places to dine through beautiful photos of dishes personalised to you. So I actually don't have a clicker. Here it is. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Claire. Claire is gluten intolerant. She's looking for a place that has all-day breakfast, that is dog-friendly, and also within walking distance. So Claire's going to go right ahead and open up Crave. If this is going to autoplay. it's not playing automatically. So that's not going to work automatically, but you can see on the screen. So what we've created is like Tinder for food. So a customer is able to see photos of dishes based on the photo itself, as well as... Sorry, what are we going on here? Can we just pause and start again because my slides are flicking out without me doing it?
Okay.
That's all right.
Hey, tell us your name.
Jessica Cons again, Crave.
You nervous?
So I'm not pressing these buttons and they're clicking without me. So here we go. Okay, so
3, 2, go.
Claire's opened up Crave. She's going to put in distance under 10 kilometres by dairy-free dishes, available for all-day breakfast and dog-friendly venues. So once she's done this, she's then presented with photos of dishes, all personalised to her. She can swipe left and right through the dishes, and if she likes the look of it, Claire can tap in and find out exactly where it's from. Tells her information about the price, the business that makes it, as well as all the information about that business so she can try that dish. So what Crave also has is exclusive offers. So you're able to actually go through and claim things like free coffees. As you can see, this one's worth $4. We have over $1,000 worth of exclusive offers on Crave right now. What you can also do is go through and see exactly how much money you've saved by using Crave. So for a business, what we provide is a level playing field with the photo of the dish, the name, and how far away it is from you. We take the photos professionally, which means that we market your business for you. A lot of hospitality businesses actually don't have websites. So what we provide is information that a customer needs to know about directions, contact information. We also provide businesses with detailed analytics. So this is a real-time report from a business called Blue Door. Over 100,000 people have already discovered their dishes by using Crave. As you can see, you can zoom in and look at detailed demographic breakdown based on male and female interaction with the dishes. You can look at customer reviews. And all of these collated reviews are internal as well, so no public listed reviews. So our business model is two-sided. We have a free platform for businesses to list on. There is the option to upgrade to premium, where you access data and analytics. For users, it is a free app to discover, but if you would like to claim offers, you can also have the option to upgrade to premium. The market size in Australia alone is huge. There is over 90,000 hospitality businesses. Of these 90,000, 30% are ideal for our platform, which is over 27,000 businesses that you could discover on Crave just in Australia. So at the moment, people use platforms like Google, Instagram and TripAdvisor and the Entertainment Book to discover places to dine. But as you can see, there's key features that Crave has that these other platforms don't have. Dish-based discovery, filtered by preferences, with exclusive offers. So on August 1st, 2017, we launched to market. We now have over 13,000 people using our app, with an 81% returning user rate, and over 1 million people have viewed over 1 million view screens on our app. We have 100 businesses that are featured on Crave. Of these 100 businesses, I personally convinced 20 of them to sign up to our app before it was even available to download, which generated $20,000 in revenue. I then used that $20,000 to build the very first MVP for Crave, which now has over 13,000 users. So we are Crave, and we are revolutionising the way that people discover places to dine with beautiful photos of dishes, all personalised to you. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. It's almost like she's been coached. Okay, so here's how we do the Q&A for efficiency. There's a pen and a piece of paper over there. You can write down the questions you get, and we'll give our questions as a unit, and then she'll respond to us as a unit. So, Stonely, you have a question for Crave?
Yep. Would you describe your growth currently as organic? And if not, what do you think it's going to take to create virality?
So what I would...
Wait. You're going to get all the questions at once, then
sorry,
respond.
yeah.
Okay, Emily?
Oh, all the questions at once. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your breakdown in revenue at the moment between, because you have that two-sided revenue model, between businesses and customers?
Okay. Kim?
What is your revenue at the moment, your MRR?
Great. So go ahead and answer those questions.
So in terms of organic reach, we have a bit of an unfair advantage when we launched our product. We have an Instagram page called Crave Newcastle that actually has 50,000 followers. We're able to funnel those 50,000 people into now using our app, which I guess is essentially an extension of our Instagram page. So to date with paid advertising, I think I've probably spent about $400 or $500 on Facebook ads, and that's about it. So we've been really beneficial and lucky to be able to have such a targeted audience to promote our product to. And the second question about our two-sided marketplace. So in terms of business revenue, it's actually when we first launched, we had the first phase of the business where the only way we made money was by having a business subscribe to be on our platform for advertising. And we had a goal internally that once we hit 100 businesses, we would then launch into the second phase where Crave became a free advertising platform for businesses. So with our phase 1 of the business model, which was the first 10 months, we generated 180K. However, now we're into phase 2 of the business where we're forecasted to, in the next 12 months, be sitting at 4.6 in terms of the businesses and the consumers. And the spike in consumer downloads and upgrading to premium is a much higher revenue stream in the businesses and a much easier sell to have someone, upgrade for $60 for a year to save a lot of money, once-off purchase rather than paying for monthly advertising. So in terms of the revenue, so that pretty much answers what I just said. So at the moment we have generated 180K, but we have just, as of last Friday, actually launched Crave Premium, and we've already seen 20 people subscribe in Newcastle alone for Crave Premium to be able to claim offers, and as we roll out to new markets, we are expecting to see huge spikes in the next 12 months and even the next few months.
Great. Let's give it up for Crave. Well done. Next up is WePloy.
Thanks, guys.
There'll be 3 minutes on the clock for WePloy, and then we'll give 1 minute of questions and 1 minute to respond. Tell us your name.
Tony.
Tony, nice to meet you again.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. You have 3 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Cool. So my name's Tony. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of WePloy. And what we do is really simple. We allow businesses to hire short-term staff pre-vetted within seconds. So for today, the way I'm going to show you how it works is I'm actually going to run you through an example of how one of our clients, Kathy from Lonely Planet, actually uses us. So it was 7:30 in the morning, and she got a call. She was on the train, and her reception was sick. So traditionally, Kathy would have to go through quite a tired process. So on a good day, this would take her anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, but on average, anywhere from 12 to 24. So not only is this a lengthy, but also a very costly process. So instead, she found out about WePloy, and she, on the train, got out her phone and jumped onto our platform. From here, she started to make the request, which is, there we go, and she started to make the request. Now, fun fact, simplicity is a very big thing for us. So we actually did all the user testing on a 65-year-old Vietnamese retiree. So it is completely dad-proof. So here you can see Kathy's putting in the time requirements. She's then going to choose her skills that she's requiring. So in this case, she chooses reception. And then she puts in her special requirements from there. From there, she's going to click next and check out via credit card or invoice. And all of our costing is fully transparent. Transparency is a big thing for us. From there, it gets pushed out to our community of WePloyees. Now, it's important to note that before any WePloyee can accept a job, they've got to go through our 6 rounds of vigorous vetting that we designed and created. So, at 7:30, Kathy received a call. At 7:31, she made the request and it was pushed out. 33 seconds later, the job was filled. And at 9:04, when Kathy had arrived at the office, Audrey was there, ready to work. This is actually a real photo of Audrey. So when we caught up with Kathy afterwards, we asked her for her feedback, and her feedback was, I'll never use an agency again for these type of roles. And that still stands today. So given that we're at launch, it's important that we talk a little bit about traction. So 12 months ago, this time last year, there was 5 of us huddled around a vacated bathroom shop, and we launched the business. We've now grown it to 26 across 2 states. We've seen double-digit growth month on month, and we've exceeded $1 million in revenue already. So it is fully live in the market. We've been able to reduce the average fill time from 12 hours, 24 hours down to 11 seconds. Our communities are 1,000 strong, and our average rating is 4.87. We still have room to go for that, out of 5. But most importantly, these are just some of the many hundreds of clients that we work with today. So thank you. That's it from me, and I hope everyone can join me or us in creating a fearless and empowered future of work where people can work to live.
Okay, let's hear it for Tony. Okay, Kim, why don't you lead us off with a question, and then we'll go to Emily and Stoneleigh.
Yeah, look, it sounds like you're doing extremely well. Congratulations. My question is around how do you get people answering these job ads in 11 seconds?
Great. And Emily?
Yeah, well done on your traction so far. It's impressive. So you've taken the traditional sort of temping model and digitized it, which is cool. And what do you see? Do you see this being a complete disruptor in this space? Do you see completely replacing temping agencies? Is that, or more importantly, what roles do you think you can fill in WePloy that you don't see in traditional temping agencies would they need to still be around, and what jobs for?
Great. And Stonely, any questions or thoughts?
Yep. What's your unfair advantage in the face of whatever the most successful temping agency in the country already is, adding an app that makes it easy to use them? Like, what would be your defense against that?
Okay, amazing questions. Demont, put a minute on the clock for rebuttal. 3, 2, go. Tony.
Cool. So answering jobs, it's a push notification. So rather than a traditional marketplace where they then select and there's a bidding, which is what traditional agencies occur, we create a situation where basically when I was working in an agency, and we found that we could actually just go, would you like the job? Yes. And all the time was spent on answering that. So we removed all that and just gave them the option to go, do I accept or not? And that's where the vetting is really important, because that vetting is basically before anyone comes onto the platform, they've gone through a vigorous round of vetting. I think your question is, how are we disrupting the agencies? So there's multiple ways, but I mean, the big thing is, when I was working in an agency, I had a person working for me who was the national top biller, and she was doing 30 jobs a month. And she could do so many more, as in there were so many more candidates wanting work and so many more clients wanting work. And the big thing was, she didn't have enough time. So what we're doing is we're focusing on removing, or looking at the volume work and removing that.
Okay, let's hear it for Tony. Well done, Tony. And next up is Posty. Posty, you have 3 minutes on the clock. We run a tight ship here. Hey, Kim and Emily, it's the first time we're working together here doing this judging thing. At the end, fair warning, I'm going to ask you for your number 3, your number 2, and your number 1 startup in this group. Okay? And it's going to be very dramatic, in fact. Okay. So, Demont, 3 minutes on the clock. 3. Tell us your name.
Pete.
Pete, 3, 2, go.
Hi everyone, I'm Pete, CEO of Posty. So over the last 7 years, I built a digital marketing agency and sold it to private equity. And we've got a couple of friends working with me to help turn Posty into being the growth engine for micro brands. So for the past couple of years, we've seen an explosion in these micro brands. So they're like 1 to 4 person organizations that have a product, a proprietary website, and that market themselves through Instagram. They're really, really great at storytelling, and they have really good backgrounds, so they create really good connections with their customers. So this is Emma. Emma runs a great brand called Happy Hands, Happy Heart, which is like a natural Play-Doh company. She's got 3 kids, about 1 billion things on her to-do list, and she shares content with her Instagram following to market herself. Problem is, she has no time to do anything else. And now, thanks to the way that Instagram needs to make money, they throttle her reach so that her content reaches about 20% of her followers. So we help Emma by taking the best of her content and building out digital marketing campaigns automatically. So we start in email marketing. So via the Instagram API, we find her best content and pull it into a pre-built email template. Emma then gets an email from us saying that her campaign's ready to be edited, which is 48 hours before her send time that she's told us. She can jump in, change the template, change the colors, fonts. She can swap out for different Instagram content or upload non-Instagram content. And she can then just change anything that she wants within her campaign. It's really simple, and the time to review, edit, and approve a campaign is about 8 minutes on average. So while our competitors give their customers a blank piece of paper to start with, we give ours a final draft. And so for Emma, the time that it takes to build email campaigns has gone from hours to minutes. We've doubled her open rates, and we've doubled the amount of traffic that she's sending to our website, so no wonder Emma's smiling. There are millions of brands out there like Emma. They terrify the big brands, and they're stealing market share everywhere. So in our opinion, micro brands are going to change the retail landscape as more than the onset of Amazon, and Posty is going to help them win. So we've got a couple of hundred brands using Posty. We've grown 30% month on month over the last 3 months, and our average customer pays us about $34 a month. So we're going to take our same content-first final draft approach to building out social and building out digital campaigns for these brands. So all Emma has to do is keep on creating the content that she's creating, and she'll have an always improving, fast and effective digital marketing strategy in all the different areas that she would never otherwise get to. So we believe that a connected network of micro brands that people love will win. These guys are really only just scratching the surface because they're marketing almost exclusively through Instagram. 90% of Instagram users are under the age of 35. Like imagine if Amazon could only sell to people under the age of 35. So we also believe that when people buy from micro brands, they want to do it more and more and more. So we're here to help micro brands take over the world. I'm Pete, and this is Posty.
Okay, well done. Hey, Emily, why don't you start us off this time? You can go first with a question.
All right. Well, I've actually met Pete, and I've probably grilled him on every question already.
Okay. A pass is okay too.
I'll ask a question. So $34 per company at the moment. Are you thinking of offering any sort of tiering services, and are you going to add in things like consulting for content and things like that as well to add to that?
Great. Kim, a question or comment, or both?
Number of current users, please. And what was that? Sorry, I missed that. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, okay. Stonely, any questions or comments?
You're targeting micro brands, but would you turn away a mega brand that wanted to use this?
And I'll add a question, which is, what about Snapchat and YouTube? So 1 minute to answer those questions. Demont will give you a clacker when it's at a minute. 3, 2, go.
Cool, yeah, so in terms of how we make money, right now we're scaling based on numbers of subscribers that these brands have, and that's all we're focusing on right now. We're about to launch our peer-to-peer advertising platform. So the way that works is that these brands all have really good databases that are relatively locked away. But if you're selling kids' gumboots, how many times can you sell kids' gumboots to those 5,000 people on your database? So what we're enabling them to do is essentially sell a spot within their campaign to another brand that might then be able to sell to that database. So part of the way we're going to make money is making a clip on that. And we believe that money will cycle around and we'll just take clips as it goes around through the system. Numbers of users, we've got about 200, it's probably about 250 brands using Posty right now. I was telling one of the guys I'm with today, my phone goes off every time we get a new customer, and we've made about $250 MRR this morning. Size of brands, we do have some bigger brands using Posty. We focus on micro brands, I think, because we know it's a massive space that I really want to work with, and I really enjoy working with these guys. But equally, we have brands in tourism, lots of other areas.
Well done. Let's hear it for Peter of Posty. Next up is Parent TV. And tell us your name from Parent TV.
I'm Sam from Parent TV.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, and you will hear a wooden clicker that sounds like this when you have 10 seconds left. 3, 2, go.
I'm Sam, the founder of Parent TV. Think Netflix for parenting resources, but it's for the parent, not for the child. We do 2 to 5 minute videos, like mini TED Talks from the world's leading parenting educators on the things that parents are finding the most challenging with their kids. How do we know what those challenging things are? Well, 6 years ago, I founded 2 online communities that have over 650,000 parents in them. And during that time, I learned a few things. One of the things I learned was that parents are really overwhelmed with too much information, and they find it hard to know what is legitimate-based information and what is a random person's opinion. I also know they're concerned that suicide is the leading cause of death amongst young people. Mental health issues are at an all-time high. Parents are also showing up to schools and childcare centres asking for help, but those institutions are not equipped to deal with this. They're there to educate our kids, not parent our kids. In fact, a study was done in Queensland alone saying it costs $230 million for teachers to be picking up the slack of parents. That's a lot of money, and that's just in Queensland. ParentTV.com, yes, we own the .com, helps solve these problems. So how do we solve these problems? Sandy's got a 4-year-old. He started biting people at kindy, and when I take the iPad off him, he kind of turns into a little devil child. So she doesn't know what to do. So she goes to Parent TV and she signs up with an account. Once she gets into Parent TV, it prompts her to create a profile specifically for her child. She puts in the age, the gender, and some of the concerns that she's experiencing with her child. She then gets a profile specifically for that kid. So when she clicks on it, she gets information from the platform specifically to those concerns. I've got 3 kids. The issues that I'm dealing with my 4-year-old son, very different to my 10-year-old daughter. So when I have issues with my 10-year-old daughter, I can go to her profile and I will get the information that I need right there and then from the world's leading parenting educators. Parents also create profiles for themselves, because if you're a single parent, that's very different from a married parent or someone who is sharing parenting. You can also search any topic. So if your kid's suffering from anxiety, go search that out. All of those videos will come to you. They're all 2 to 5 minutes because we know that parents are really time poor. They're kind of like TED Talks. For example, talking to kids about suicide. We know what the big issues are, and that's what we're talking to people about. Our experts are second to none. We have over 1 million people in our Facebook followers from those that we are working with. So we already know that our parents are listening to these people. We're just bringing them all together with no ads. Schools and childcare centres are signing up on behalf of their parents. Schools receive a code, so let's say you've got 250 parents in your school, you can apply it 250 times, and parents can access. We are taking the pressure off schools. So this is a recurring monthly and yearly subscription. Parents pay per month, schools pay per year. We're getting crazy traction after launching only 3 months ago. We got $200,000, 24 paying childcare centres, 20 after-school care centres, 6 paying schools. We got 20 grand. We won $1 million.
Okay. Keep
and
going.
connections into schools and childcare centres. Yes.
Okay.
So we are looking for connections into childcare centres.
Yes.
And $1 million.
Amazing.
Because Parent TV is going to change
All right,
the
give it up for
world.
Parent TV. Yes.
Let's do good things together.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Jesus. Wow. That was incredible. I'm so excited right now. Okay, Stonely, I'm speechless, so it's up to you to ask a question. Okay, take a deep breath. Keep it together,
how
Stonely,
big,
please.
How do you calculate the size of this market, and how much of it do you think you can capture?
Yeah.
Great. Kim or Emily? Emily? Keep it together, please, Emily. It's okay.
I liked your focus to finishing that presentation. That showed some good determination for an entrepreneur, so well done. How do you vet content, and how do you make sure that it's relevant for that particular type of parent, because everyone parents in a different way?
Okay. Now, Emily, have you got it together?
I don't
Come on, Emily, keep it together here.
I don't
It's a good
know.
question.
So,
next?
checks and balances around the educators that you're allowing on the platform, which is quite similar to the content.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, 1 minute to respond, or as much as you'd like. Go.
All right. So you may or may not know, but Maggie Dent is our lead parenting educator. She has 5% equity in the company. She's one of Australia's most renowned parenting educators, up there with Steve Bidoff. Her role is to make sure that the people that we get on board Parent TV are legit and good quality. She has done a very good job of that, and the one reason why this is working is because school principals, childcare centres know exactly who the people are who we have on our list of experts, so therein it's a no-brainer. We will continue to use that model as we go from expert to expert and find those that actually work with us to vet the people, because you're right, we need to find the best people to vet the best people. So that's that one. In terms of market, I mean, it is ridiculously large. Everyone has kids, right? It's like, how much of that we can take? Well, hopefully we will be the Netflix of parenting resources. So my plan is to take all of it. I know that's ridiculous, but hey, think big, right? I think Netflix made $12 billion or something last, So even if it's I don't know, 10% of that, I'd be happy with 1 point something billion.
Wow. Okay. All right. I guess you found the complimentary espresso machine. You did. Yeah.
You know what? I haven't had a coffee all week on purpose.
This is you not on coffee.
This is me not on coffee, but I take these Chinese herbs and they're really good.
Apparently. Let's hear it for Sam. Yeah. Wow. I had no idea that those poppy plants were legal here. Is it really legal? It's amazing. Tasmania, they have them there? All right, here we go. Tell us your name.
Chris.
Correct. Chris, you have 3 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Hi, I'm Chris from Takeoffs.io, and we're automating construction takeoffs and estimating. So this is Carl. Now, he's a general contractor, He's in his mid-30s and he does about 1 to 2 houses per month. And like most contractors, he's time poor, spending about 80% of his time on site. And Carl's just one of 360,000 small builders in Australia building about 215,000 homes a year. Now, Carl's just been given a new job to quote. Now, before he can provide a quote to his customer, he needs to do a full materials takeoff. That means he needs to understand how much bricks are in the job, how much painting there is, how much timber, so he can understand the cost of materials and how much labour to apply to the job. Now, a job like this would take Carl on average about 4 weeks to provide a quote on. But Carl uses Takeoffs.io, so he jumps into the platform, he uploads his plans using a simple drag and drop, he tells us the type of takeoffs that he needs, and in 72 hours we give him back a full bill of materials, a markup of the plan showing him all the items that we've identified, and we give him a full list of materials in Excel. Now, not only that, we can also give him the average cost it's been in his area in the last quarter. So now Carl's got a full list of materials he needs to build the job. He knows what the costs are going to be. All he needs to do is apply a margin and send that to his clients for approval. We've bootstrapped this over the last 12 months. We've done 350 takeoffs. We've generated just under $300,000 in revenue. We have a pay-per-use model where we charge up front. We acquire a customer for about $151. That customer spends on average $688 with us. And we launched this as a concierge MVP in March last year, and in the first 3 months generated $30,000 in revenue. We have plans to scale this into global markets, and based on customers just like Carl, gives us a target market of around $345 million annually. The competitors in the space usually fall into about 2 major categories, either on-screen takeoff tools, and they're really replacing like a scale ruler and highlighter, or outsourced service providers who use the tools above. We're taking a technology-first approach, and we're using it all in the cloud, and our aim is to get this down to real time and be the first data API for construction estimating. The team consists of myself. I'm a builder. I spent the last 15 years running technology projects, and Gilia, who's our tech lead, he's an expert in machine learning and computer vision. We're currently raising $1 million seed round, and that's to accelerate the technology and launch into international markets. This will give us about $11 million run rate in the next 24 months at a cost base of about $1.7 million. So why now? The technology is ready, builders are actively asking for it, and we can't keep up with demand with our current concierge approach. Thanks.
Okay, let's hear it for Chris. Questions from our judges. Kim, you want to lead us off with a great question?
Yeah. Chris, why did you choose to solve this particular problem?
Great. And Emily and Stonely?
How are you testing the accuracy of your costs that you're sending back to your clients?
Pardon, say that again?
On the takeoffs, how are you testing the accuracy of the costs that you're sending back?
Great. Accuracy. And Stonely?
Whose job are you displacing, and whose job are you making better?
Okay. Great questions. You have 1 minute to respond. 3, 2, go, Chris.
Okay, why me? So my dad is a builder. I grew up doing a carpentry trade with him, and I saw him nights and weekends poring over plans trying to do this exact job. So he used to fall asleep with plans on his stomach, and that's what I grew up with. So it's a problem that I've now know the technology can solve, and it's a problem that I can solve. My customers ring me and say, mate, that story is my story, and thanks for giving back my weekends and nights. The accuracy, there is, we have a team of estimators that do a peer review independently, and we reference data sets in terms of the costing, so there's third-party data sets that we can use. We also use some of our own. Who we're displacing, we're probably actually displacing the quantity surveyor market. They traditionally do this as a service, and we're adding value to builders who traditionally can't afford that service. What was the last question?
That was it. You did good.
Excellent.
Let's hear it for Chris. Next up is Friend Theory. Friend Theory, you have 3 minutes on the clock. You'll hear the clacker when there's 10 seconds left, at which point you can rifle through 20 final slides as quick as possible. Tell us your name.
Carlo.
Kylo?
Carlo.
Carlo.
Carlo, yeah.
Carlo.
Italian
Okay.
name.
I thought you said Kylo Ren, and I was like, it's going to be interesting. Okay, Carlo.
Yeah.
3, 2, go.
Hello, I come from Friend Theory, and I'm going to explain you how we make travel great by connecting you to your friends of friends network. But I want to start explaining you how I got here. Jason sent us an email last Thursday. We're based in Melbourne. So as soon as we got it, like, we booked our flights, and then we started looking for travel accommodation. And guess what? Travel accommodation is expensive, especially for millennials like us. And the other options are not really that tempting either. So we ask ourselves a question that you probably ask yourself as well when you go to a new city. It's like, do I know someone here, or like a friend of a friend who can potentially maybe host me? So it was as easy as going on to friendtheory.com, and with your existing social network, I don't know if the demo is going, this demo wasn't working. Hold on. Jason, do you know why the demo is not working? All right, we'll show you now. Should I wait until the demo works, or?
Yeah, I never worry. Let's see. Here we go. 3. Save money.
Okay.
Sign up. Did you use PowerPoint?
No, this is actually no, it's not PowerPoint. But
not working.
No working. Oh, damn it! All right.
All right. So this is what we call an audible.
Sorry.
Here's what you do.
Okay, I can explain you what happens.
No, even better.
Yeah.
Let's bring up a particular audience. We'll have them go. You fix your deck. You'll have 5 minutes to fix your deck.
Yeah.
No pressure. And then you'll go right after them.
Okay.
Sound good?
Cool. Yep, sounds
Or is
good.
it working? You got it working? All right. So, Carlo, where are you from?
I'm Spanish. Well, my family's Italian.
Italian.
I was born in Spain, grew up in Spain, family Italian, and now we're based in Melbourne.
What brought you to Melbourne from Spain?
Sorry?
Why did you choose to come to Melbourne from Spain?
Because that's where we found the right tech co-founder, and we knew that we're still pre-revenue. We haven't got to that slide anyway, but we knew that we had to work part-time to cover our expenses while working full-time on the project.
Got it.
So
you got a day job?
Sorry?
You got a day job?
Weekend job. So we're working from Monday to Friday on Friend Theory, and then weekends.
On what?
So I was doing events, like just like casual jobs that you can turn, turn down if you need to do something more important, like
catering, or like
Sorry?
a waiter? You're like a waiter on the weekends?
Yeah, that's how I am.
I started too. I was a
Yeah,
waiter.
so basically, I mean, I was previously working in a fast-growing startup in South Africa, but I quit it because I really wanted to focus on this, and I really feel that like you need to build the foundation of a startup by yourself without any outsiders like telling you what to do, like an investor or anything. And it took a while working from a storage room and stuff, but we finally launched 7 weeks ago. So
Wow.
I'll explain you more when freaking presentation works.
Incredible story of you traveling around the world.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I had an idea. Why don't you tell us about your company? Let's jump into the deck here.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And there it is. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, so hostels, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And Sydney. And hey, why don't you
There you
demo
go.
it?
So you go into friendtheory.com. Using your existing social network, you automatically pull where all your direct friends are in the world, but also where your friends of friends are in the world. So we went to Sydney, where we are right now. We're like, this is all existing users. You can explore around who you have in your map. And then I saw John. I actually forgot that John was living in Sydney, so that's awesome. User's profile, you can see what they are offering from accommodation to anything else. But they can also see what they're interested in and the mutual friends you have with them. Because just as a reminder, the only people you see on the map is either your direct friends or the people that know your direct friends. And for every 100 direct friends, you have 27,000 friends of friends all around the world. So we texted John, and we asked him, hey, can we stay for a couple of days for the launch event? And guess what happened next? John hosted us, we saved money, we had a great local experience, and he's actually in the event. Raise your hand, John. And so, but the greatest thing about this is not only our side, it's also that John got to raise money for an NGO by hosting us. You will ask, how? Okay. So that's exactly what, instead of us paying $50 for a hostel in Bondi, like we were going to do, we actually donated 30 to John's favorite NGO in Sydney. And that's exactly what we aim to do with Friend Theory. We want to turn it into a crowd-raising platform where we can turn millions of people's space into a crowd-raising tool for charities. So us as a business, we charge a commission for any transaction going through the platform. And just by opening up the door to your friends, you can raise money for your favorite NGO and without putting a penny from your pocket. And yeah, we only have $300 Aussie dollars for marketing overall. Believe it or not, we have already over 8,600 users in 130 countries. This is how our week-on-week growth looks like. And yeah, I mean, like we got picked up by global publications like BuzzFeed. They said that we're the coolest thing ever, which is also pretty cool. And the engagement is pretty high. I mean, we already have conference days in 3 different continents and thousands of messages going in between users. So long story short, we realized that now we're like more connected than ever online. And we really believe we can make travel safer, cheaper, and more socially conscious through the value of your second-degree social network. And today we're focusing on short-term accommodations, like staying and hosting. But we can focus on any other travel vertical, or I don't know, like all those services that you'd rather get from a friend or a friend of a friend instead of from a random stranger. Thank you very much.
Okay, well done, Carlo. Nice recovery. Hey, Emily, would you like to start us off?
All right. Was it 8,000 users?
8.7.
8.7, okay.
Today, yeah.
So you're pre-revenue, but you have 8.7 thousand. So why aren't you clipping the ticket yet?
Sorry,
okay, hold on. Oh,
Yeah.
why aren't you clipping
why
the
aren't you
ticket?
clipping the ticket yet on those? So you said you're pre-revenue?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why aren't you clipping the ticket yet on those
Or like charging them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Stonely, any questions?
I can understand why somebody traveling would choose this. Why would somebody listing their place choose this over getting more money from Airbnb? How are you acquiring supply?
Great. Kim.
Sounds great to be able to work out where all your friends are and friends of friends all around the world. So I think it sounds great. I'm also interested in the pricing model and whether maybe a pivot is going to be necessary because I can see the attractiveness. I can't quite see the $50 NGO donation, but I'd love to hear your thoughts around that and your
Great.
testing.
1 minute rebuttal and answer the questions. 3, 2, go.
Okay, so we haven't integrated any NGOs yet, just because, I mean, we're a super young product. Like, we're still building the base. We're building the mobile app at the moment. And also, we want to give like that social aspect to the donation side. So like people are going to have a social dashboard. So like whenever you host, whenever you raise money or you donate, it's going to go straight to your social dashboard, and you're going to share with all your network. And that's something that people love. I mean, like people love likes that don't really like just gives you popularity. That's what we want to do with donations. It's going to show the people how good you are. Okay, and for the host benefits you were talking about, obviously, I mean, there's like the obvious side, like, you're doing a favor, like you're like hosting, like also remembers a friend of a friend of a friend. But also is the fact that later on you're going to raise money, and then there's a lot of synergies that you also can play around. Like if you're learning French, and you want to host a French person just because you want to practice your language, or I'm planning to go to Paris, I'm going to host this French guy so I can later on stay at his place. So there are different synergies you can find in between traveler and locals as well. And
okay, well done. Let's hear it for Carlo, a friend theory. Next up is particular audience. There we go. Okay, now remember, Emily and Kim, I'm going to ask you for your
Hello.
3, 2, and 1. Okay, tell us your name.
James Taylor.
What is it again?
James Taylor.
James Taylor. Okay. I'm going to have to try to remember that. 3, 2, go.
Hey guys, so Particular Audience provides standalone retailers with the same AI that Amazon attributes 35% of their online revenues to. And those of you that are familiar with Amazon will be familiar with these pages of recommendations, and there's lots of different algorithms that go behind each of these recommendations, and they're the same algorithms that you'll be familiar with from Netflix and Spotify Discover, and yet just 0.5% of retailers use a technology like this. You'll see it on sites that might be attribute-based, but it doesn't leverage collective intelligence like we do. And the reason you need a tool like this is because the problem with e-commerce is that you can add infinite number of products. There's no store to constrain you. So one of our clients, they've got 160,000 product SKUs. There's no way that you're going to find all of those products. You can only categorize and subcategorize so much. And here it is, hopefully playing. We literally just tested it, so it should not play, apparently. No. That's a pain. Okay. There you go. Okay, so we're this sticky widget on the bottom. Obviously, screen real estate is a problem, right? So you can't just have pages full of recommendations like Amazon have done. So you'll notice that these sticky footers or sticky widgets that we have on desktop will actually track you as you scroll through a journey and stay with you on a shopping experience. There's retrospective and predictive product recommendations here. And if someone clicks on this item and goes on to purchase this item, we take a margin of that sale. In this instance, 7%. Here they are on desktop. They're completely dynamic. We can sense if there's not enough white space on a smaller screen, and it sort of disappears off to the side. And of course, we can do the in-page stuff as well. But how does Amazon get to 35% of revenue? They don't stop on-site. They go off-site across own channels. You'll be familiar with these emails, cart abandonment emails, product recommendation emails. But email is dying, and it's harder and harder and harder to get open rates and click-throughs from your emails. Whereas Messenger, I know there's been lots of talk about Messenger bots and how they're obviously not humans, and they don't fully work. But if we can start automating the product recommendations and relevant content through there, then that's going to be really powerful. And the way that we get opt-in for that is by allowing people to save their carts or specific items they like to Messenger, and that starts the conversational interface for a retailer. A bit about my background. I brought a company called Yieldify to Asia Pacific. That's one of the Google Ventures companies, and we scaled it up to about 50 accounts in the region. Adidas, Virgin, Dan Murphy's, you name it, we work with them. And there's obviously a big opportunity here, so I've launched a particular audience. Cheers.
Okay, well done, James Taylor. Stonely, do you have a question for Mr. James Taylor?
So how are you, what do you think is your main success metric? Is it return customers? Is it value of the items that they're purchasing?
Emily, Kim.
Was that me?
Yeah, sure.
What is your current traction?
Information on where you're at today.
Great. 1 minute to respond. 3, 2, go.
Cool. So the key metric is average order value. We should be growing items per order, and we track that as well by having control groups that don't see our recommendations, so we can see that there's an uplift on that. What we've also seen is that people tend to spend longer on websites when they interact with our widgets, and a byproduct of that is higher conversion rates. So in terms of traction, so we put first pilots live in February, and results were good. And then machine learning is not so much an algorithmic problem as an engineering problem. So we had some issues in March and April, which we've then come around. So further pilots going on now, and we'll hit revenue in July or August. Yeah. So.
Okay, let's hear it for particular audience.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay. Emily, tell me a little bit about M8 Ventures while Kim and Stonely race through and pick their number 3, 2, and 1. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how much you typically invest.
Yeah, so we're still raising Fund 1 at the moment. We're going to close that at the end of this year. We're an early stage venture firm, so we typically look at pre-seed and seed stage. So our first check size is generally anywhere between 50 to 500K. And we'll invest in Australia and New Zealand, mainly.
Kim, tell us about Skip Capital.
Yeah, sure. Skip Capital is a private investment fund. I run it alongside the co-founder of Atlassian, Scott Farquhar. We invest across stages, so early to late stage startups, no particular sector. We're more focused on the individual, like we're looking for phenomenal founders who are really deep in a sector and solving a real problem. So if you think that's you, feel free to reach out.
Jace,
Stonely.
Could I plug our accelerators? Because I just
Yes.
talked about the fund earlier.
Yeah, you have an accelerator.
Yeah, so
excellent.
About a year ago, we started working with BMW Mini in New York, running their Urban X accelerator, and we're have open applications for startups working on cities, improving city life, future of city stuff, and that want to work with us and BMW for 100K investment. and 5 months working with their engineers and designers.
Fantastic. And I just want to apologize for the diversity on this panel. We tried really hard to find a white male over the age of 50 who was a venture capitalist. We couldn't find any.
You're the token.
Oh, I'm the
You're
token.
the token white
Okay,
male.
Good. One of the dying breed left. But yeah, so there's somebody named Jackie, who's the producer of This Week in Startups, who did a phenomenal job putting together this event. She's not here right now. She tore her shoulder, and she's in rehab right now. But she's watching, I think. Can we give her a round of applause for doing a great job? Thank you, Jackie. Okay. Now comes the fun. I'm going to ask you for your number 3 and your number 2. But don't tell me your number 1 yet. Number 3 is worth half a point. Number 2 is worth 1 point. And your number 1 vote will be worth 2 points. Demont, you're going to keep score. You ready? Demont's ready? He's ready. Okay, he's got a pen and a paper. Okay. Who's ready first to tell me their number 3 and their number 2? You seem ready. Okay, Kim, tell me your number 3 and your number 2.
Okay.
Don't tell me your number 1.
I'm going to throw this out a bit because I have a tie for 3.
Oh, you got to pick one. You can give a runner-up, but there's no ties here. No.
No ties. Okay.
No ties. You can say I gave a runner-up. I gave 4th place.
I gave 4th place to Friend Theory because
Congratulations,
it's cool.
0 points. 0.0. Congratulations.
3rd place to Takeoffs.
Takeoffs with half a point, and 2nd place?
Parent TV.
Ah, with a full point.
Extra determination.
Excellent. Okay, Emily. Number
Okay.
3 and number 2. If you want to give your 4th place, go ahead.
Mine. I'll just stick to the the top 3. Number 3 is a particular audience. Because I'm a machine learning person, I just can't help it. And then number 2 to Posty.
To Posty. So we have 4 different companies. Great. Stonely. Give me your number 3 and your number 2.
Number 3, WePloy.
Okay.
Number 2, Takeoffs.io.
Number 2, Takeoffs.io. So I think that gives Takeoffs.io 1.5, which puts them right ahead of Friend Theory with 0. I'm just fucking with you, Carla, okay? I got to keep you sharp, okay? I got to keep you hungry. Don't worry, you're going to just plow through and get all these number 1 votes, don't worry. Okay, here we go. Kim, tell me who is your number 1 choice for the year 1 competition.
My number 1 choice is WePloy.
Okay, and why? Why did you pick WePloy as your number 1?
I think they're solving an important problem that lots of people have tried to solve. And if they can do that in 11 seconds and keep people coming back, that's impressive. I haven't seen others do that yet.
So then WePloy rockets to the front with 2.5, am I right? Okay. And Stonely, give us your number 1.
Posty.
Posty, which then puts that, and why?
They'd have an easier time raising money, so they'll have that advantage. And they can run the same playbook as Canva, but from a different perspective.
Love it. Okay, so that puts Posty at, I believe, 3 in first place, right ahead of WePloy. And Emily, you didn't vote for WePloy yet.
Well, WePloy is my number 1.
So WePloy now with 4.5, Posty with 2.5, with 3 rather, and then 2.5 for no one. Oh, 2. Is there 2 for anyone? 1.5 for Takeoff. So Takeoff's in 3rd, Posty in 2nd, and WePloy in 1st. Let's give the winner and the 2nd and 3rd place of the year 1 competition a big round of applause. Congratulations to WePloy. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. And you're dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Give them a big round of applause. Well done. We are going to roll right into the Frontier Tech competition. We have 6 more startups. We're going to keep it just as fast. I'm going to ask my friends, Asher, Samantha, and Ben. Asher, the angel investor, Samantha Wong from Blackbird Ventures, and Ben Narazin from NEA. Ben with the red pants, the man with the red pants. And we're going to go into Frontier Tech. Sure, anywhere. Oh, yes. And I want to take a moment to thank MYOB for supporting the Launch Festival Sydney. Can we give MYOB a big round of applause? I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, here we go. This is Frontier Tech. Some people ask me, what is Frontier Tech? Frontier Tech is when you go to a dinner party, one of the 10 people there is using that technology. 9 of the 10 are not. Maybe 3 or 4 of them know what it is. So an example of this would be if 10 years ago somebody you knew had a quadcopter and they were using it and 3 or 4 people knew what it was and the rest didn't, that would be Frontier technology. This Christmas, when there were 4 drones running around your house during Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever you guys celebrate down here, now drones are no longer Frontier technology. Flying car drones are Frontier technology because nobody here's had one. I think it's a pretty easy explanation. This is technology that will be more mainstream in the coming decade. First up is Norby. Okay, thanks, Mom. You brought Mom? That's great. Tell us your name.
Adrian.
Adrian, you have 3 minutes on the clock, and we're going to keep it tight here. We're going to keep it tight. 3, 2, go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian. I'm the CEO of Norby Robotics.
Adrian, right into the microphone like me.
And I'd like you to meet Layla. Layla is a 6-year-old girl who lives in Melbourne, Australia. She's fun, very ambitious, and very cheeky. I know this because she's also my daughter. But there's a problem. This is how Layla currently interacts with technology, eyes glazed over in a zombie-like trance. And the reason why this is such a big issue is because in 2018, technology has become the primary way in which kids play, learn, and communicate with the world. So as a frustrated dad, that got me thinking, what if you could take WALL-E, the Pixar character, and combine him with an iPad? I'd like to introduce Norby. Norby is an interactive robot that makes learning fun with technology that feels alive. And he's been waiting to meet you. Or not. And we have no sound.
Give him a second, they'll fix it. I would have added a speaker to Norby, but that's just me.
I'll have a word to the dev team.
Yep. What is 1 minus 1? It is 7. Incorrect. You're not going to amount to much. You're now doing a good job. Your parents bought me because they are lazy and don't want to parent you. Okay, now let's go raid the kitchen and eat the chocolate bars. Can you help me make a run for it?
Just crack up. So as you can see from that video clip, Layla was very engaged with Norby. And the reason for that is because kids treat Norby more like an imaginary friend than a tech device. But I'd like to focus on what happened in the last 8 seconds. Norby asked a question. That triggered Layla's imagination and she came up with an answer. That was captured as a video clip and sent directly to both of her parents as a message. And Grandma in London got one as well. But most importantly, we uploaded that clip to our digital time capsule. And the reason that's important is because, as any parent will tell you, the kids grow up way too quickly. I'd like to talk about how we make money. So it's pretty simple. We charge $3.99 for Norby with a monthly subscription starting at $7. And we have a ton of accessories and upgrades in the pipeline. And we've done this before. All 3 co-founders are lifelong technology people with extensive backgrounds in both hardware and software. Our mechanical engineer worked on the Tesla Model X, and our animators worked on Lord of the Rings and Iron Man. Happy to announce that we'll be launching Norby on Indiegogo on August 22nd. So if you're excited about the future of robots and learning, help us put a Norby in every phone. Thank you.
Okay. Well done. Very well done. Sorry about the audio problems. Ben, do you have a question? We're going to take a minute of questions.
What's your all-in cost of goods on this, and what are you planning on putting it out in the market for, both initial launch and at scale?
Great. And Samantha?
Curious about engagement. Can I ask 2 questions? Have you run this with like a sort of a beta group or anything like that, or is it literally just your daughter?
Yeah, we have.
Wait for all the questions. Yep. And Asher, a question or two or a comment? All valid.
So what was it that made you come up with doing it this way? With movies, what was the driving force for you coming up with this?
Okay. 1 minute on the clock to answer
Sorry,
the questions.
Question. Can I just get a repeat on the first question?
Ben, your question
Total
was?
cost of goods sold, BOM plus manufacturing, your cost of the unit, and then your price that you're going to sell it for, both in your initial Indiegogo program and at scale once you reach the units that will allow you to do it in a level that's more sustainable.
Cool. Okay. Great. So we're selling a unit at $3.99 on Indiegogo. I can't reveal the BOM at this stage because we're pre-launch, but I can tell you the margins are very healthy. As far as engagement is concerned, we've been testing on our own kids for over 6 months. We've got an early childhood psychologist on board, and we've got a bunch of pre-launch subscribers that we'll be testing the unit on.
What is it, the current engagement?
Sorry, come again?
Like, what is the current engagement like? Like, how long are they spending with Norby and so on?
Yeah, we won't know until we get the units out. Yep. And why? Look, I've got a mixed background. My mum's Chinese and my dad's Irish, and I had to study Chinese as a kid on Saturdays, and I hated it. And if you fast forward 30 years, my daughter's doing the same thing on Saturdays now, and I was pretty shocked because I've had to help her with her homework, going through those materials. They're basically exactly the same as when I went through them 30 years ago, and that's what got us going.
All right, let's hear it for Norby. Well done. Next up is Face Me. Face Me. This is certainly frontier tech time. And to your question, Sam, the idea is you deploy them first, and then the engagement happens, and then they take over. Just gotta give them a little time. Okay,
Hello.
Here we go. Tell us your name.
My name is Danny,
Hey,
and
Danny.
disclaimer, there is audio in this, but if it doesn't work, we know the plan, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
yes,
It's good.
sounds good. I will come up with a comedic voice for the Face Me presentation as well. 3, 2, go.
Great. Hey, everyone. My name is Danny Thompson. I'm the founder and CEO of a great company called Face Me. And Face Me is a company that's built a digital platform that is transforming customer experience in a digital world. Let me introduce you to Sophie.
We haven't met. I've been trained to show you some of the capabilities of digital employees. If I worked for you, you could design my hairstyle, clothes, and every detail of my personality. And it's my job to create amazing customer experiences. Are you ready to be amazed?
So Sophie's available on any device, but we're going to show you a demo of her on a kiosk in a real world.
Hey, Sophie.
Hey, Simon. It's great to see you. How can I help you today?
Yeah, it's great to see you too. How are you?
I'm absolutely marvelous today. Thanks.
That's really good to hear. Hey, I actually wanted to talk to you about a loan application. Can you help?
I eat loan applications for breakfast.
Perfect.
I just need a few key things from you, and I can pass you on to one of my teammates to authorize the application. Are you ready?
Great. Yeah, I'm ready.
Great. Let's start with the type of loan we can help you with. What are you looking to achieve?
Well, my family's been working really hard, so I thought that a trip to Disneyland would go down really well.
Such a great idea. The only time I get vacation is when someone forgets to pay the power bill. Shall we look at some numbers?
Pretty cool, right? But the even cooler part about that is that that whole experience happened through text going through our API into our platform. No manual animation, nothing like that. In fact, it sits on top of any chatbot, and it's our AI machine learning that takes text and learns a sentiment and turns that into speech, turns into animation, expression, and computer vision to read how Simon's responding and his interaction and his experience. So why is this important? Because the next 10 years, we're going to see a massive shift from interaction with people to interaction with digital. In fact, one of the biggest challenges that we're going to face, and organizations are facing even now, is that the digital interactions are going to be very hard to create differentiation and great customer experiences. In fact, we call it digital commoditization. And whilst conversational UI is going to be a really important part of solving this, and you'll be familiar with chatbots probably, the interesting thing is chat enough? Science shows us that it's not. In fact, the most influential part of customer experience is the emotional connection. And the emotional connection is far more than just the words that are said. In fact, you saw from that example exactly how emotion is conveyed through tone and expression. And we know this firsthand because we're working with amazing companies all around the world today, and their customers are telling them that 90% of them prefer this experience over any other digital experience. And 63% of them are actually saying that they prefer this experience over humans in areas of judgment.
All right, let's hear it for FaceMe. Well done. Big round of applause. I've checked your credit score, and you're not getting jack shit. Jesus Christ, you can't even pay your phone bill on time. Dude, who's going to trust you with an automobile? You need to get a Metro card. And I don't even know if I trust you with that.
You were just hanging out there for the audio not to
I
work.
was hoping the audio would break. That was just wow. This is going better than I thought. Wow, the first two are so good. It's so dystopian. Asher, tell us what questions do you have about our extremely disturbing future?
Yeah, you realize you're playing into Jason's favorite themes, by the way, right now.
Yeah.
He loves this stuff.
I love his podcast too, so here we go.
You're coming on it for sure. Actually, she's coming on it. You're not.
Yeah. Good call.
So in this thing, one of the things that was interesting to me is the chatbot itself still sounded quite robotic to me. And I don't know if that was for a variety of reasons. How is this going to be as opposed to sounding like this, and I am talking, as opposed to sounding like me right now, talking to you and asking questions and interacting? How long is that going?
When will we pass the uncanny valley?
Right.
Got it. Okay, Sam, your question. Or comment. Or joke. Or impersonation.
I just wanted to understand the use cases of some of your customers, how they're using it, what problem it solves for them.
Okay, and Ben.
So you mentioned that this runs on top of a chatbot. Is it that you don't care whose chatbot it is and you'll run on top of any of them and then just ingest
Correct.
along the way? And then secondarily, how are you currently thinking about the pricing model you deliver to different types of clients? Because I can see a lot of different ways you could slice that.
I'm going to ask the obvious question. Are you focused on the right use case? I wonder if there's other use cases that would drive adoption faster than customer support. Okay, Danny, you have 1 minute. 3, 2, go.
How do we
you can read into my question.
So how do we pass Uncanny Valley? So we already know through a massive amount of user acceptance testing and what we're doing that this makes a significant difference today. Obviously, we want to continue getting better. And what you heard today is the best in the world currently. Deep neural networks are just training on more and more data, and that's actually our unfair advantage. The more conversations we're having and the more proprietary and unique data enable us to train and be a lot better than everyone else.
How many people thought that was realistic? Raise your hand. Okay, nobody buys it.
It doesn't have to be realistic. It just has to be an experience.
Okay,
that they
but
value.
anyway, let me ask the question again. How long till the majority of people here say that sounds normal? When would they raise their hand, the majority of them say it sounds normal? Are we a year from that or 5?
Isn't the more important question?
No, answer mine. Don't interpret my question, answer mine.
I think in the next 3 years we'll see voices that are very hard to distinguish.
So you think that they'll raise their hands in 3 years?
I absolutely do.
Okay, good.
People would have
Great
seen
answer.
Google Duplex maybe and saw what that was.
I'll give you a bonus of 30 seconds for answering that. Keep going.
Cool. Very good. Okay, so the use case is a really good question. Obviously, $27 billion been invested in chatbots today by big technology companies and startups. So naturally, chatbots are going to have an influence on how we do customer service. Customer service market, $52 billion, growing over $100 billion in 10
Can you
years.
think of another use case that would be adopted quicker?
The use cases that are adopted right now are the ones where they take either an experience like advice, I'm starting a small business, what am I going to do in a bank, in a branch, all the way through to mental health. And
Okay,
talking
so
about
you
those
can't
things.
think of a bigger one. Okay, sounds good.
Remember that chat won't go so far, and everywhere you see chatbots, it's only going to be able to deliver so much value.
Okay, finish up.
All right, so I think we've got the right use case. I think the last, what was the, sorry
Do you
guys.
run on top of existing chatbots or build your own, and how do you price it?
Exactly. So yeah, we absolutely think that's being on top of the chatbot is key to this. The interface of the future. Just think, you're in a self-driving car. What is the interface? You're going to chat with the interface in a self-driving car? Or education in remote regions? Or even things like, let's just go as far as healthcare in emergency rooms.
Okay, let's hear it for FaceMe. Well done.
Great.
Next
Thank
up
you,
is Pat AI. I was going to say, I was excited. Tell the crowd what you were saying.
No, just merge FaceMe and Norby, and then you have all Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's just these
for your kids.
Black Mirror episodes around themselves. Hi, your mom's not home right now. Do you know the gate code? Okay. Sorry, I'm going to stop. I'm a little loopy. It's the what do they call that? The jet lag. Yeah, here we go. Chinese herbs.
Do you have any Hal impersonations?
I don't. I can't open the door for you, Asher. 3, 2. Tell us your name.
I'm Beth.
Beth. I apologize. 3, 2, go.
I'm Beth Carey, the co-founder and CEO of machine intelligence company Pat Inc. And we're changing the way that you will talk to your devices. We all know the frustration with digital assistants. Siri, remind me again what meetings I have scheduled for tomorrow morning, and it pops up with a new reminder instead of giving me my meetings. Unless you talk with AI today in the right sequence of commands or keywords, you won't get what you want. I'm going to show you how I'm going to give Pat some information, ask Pat questions. Pat will respond in natural language. So I tell Pat that Beth and Bill went to the beach, and Pat says, all right. I say, where did Beth go? Pat says, to the beach. Did Bill go to the beach? He did. And did Dana go to the beach? No, but Beth and Bill moved to there. And you can see that Pat is keeping track of context and responding in natural language. Today's AI, to do this sort of thing, they have used lots of training data in a constrained domain. They don't and can't generalise conversation. So how do we do this? Our inventor, cognitive scientist John Ball, integrated his brain-based language acquisition model with a linguistic framework and produced a natural language understanding system that is meaning-based and it is language independent. And I know what you're all thinking. Yes, I can read your minds. You're going, but Google can do this or they'll do this. Amazon, Baidu, or Tencent, they've got so much data and they've got billions of dollars. They're all trying to do natural language understanding the same way. They're all trying with lots of data, with brute force of computing power and statistics. Language isn't about statistics. This is not an engineering problem. It has been an open scientific problem for over 60 years, and Pat has the NLU patented solution. And think about when you're sitting in your autonomous vehicle in the future and you say, wind down the back left window, a little bit more, that's enough. That's not conversation you can have with AI today or the methodologies that are being deployed. You won't get there. Wearables, you can talk to your wearables, your conversation, your smart homes. We're going to make that less frustrating for your digital assistants, talking to robots. And you know that foreign language you're learning? You can practice that with your intelligent machine. Senior VP of Google said this is the holy grail of machine learning, to understand language. We're raising capital, we've got the answer to release APIs and license the platform.
Okay, let's hear it for Pat AI. Well done. Sam, you want to go first?
How are you going to make money and how are you going to distribute the product?
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the business model is. I've invested in some really advanced NLP, and the biggest problem is always how to find a use case for first deployment. So business model, first deployment, I know it's an API.
I know you went into it in your pitch, but give me a little bit more detail into why you and why now.
Sorry, why?
Why you and why now?
Okay, 1 minute on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Money, we're in closed beta with an API and an immersive language learning app because we're teaching Pat language, not data, and we're expanding Pat's knowledge. So it is an API. We'll sell licensing, enterprise licenses to anyone needing the human language interface. We are focused on NLU, the natural language understanding OpenAI problem. And the reason why us and why now, real disruption comes from outside of an industry. This has been an open scientific problem for 60 years. The inventor has been challenged by this problem since he was an undergrad, and one of his professors said, computers will never understand human language. He's worked on the problem. His research and development led him to the breakthrough brain-based theory of language acquisition, and he met up with a linguistic framework, and he has the solution for the human language interface of the future.
Let's hear it for Pat AI. Well done. Next up is Hummingbird. Interesting. Robots, avatars, conversational AI, and now
I'm going to
flying birds that will murder us. Hummingbird Technologies. I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump the gun here. Tell us your name.
I'm Zach from Hummingbird Technology. So just to put it out there for everyone, I actually start this job in 2 weeks, and so they found out this.
All right, hold on. Nobody cares.
Okay,
3,
fine.
2, go. Go.
The world needs to be producing 70% more food by the year 2050. We are Hummingbird Technology. We're an artificial intelligence business, and we are farming. We're an artificial intelligence business, and we are farming using imagery captured from drones and satellites to help farmers see problems in the crop before the human eye. It's essentially an MRI scanning, an MRI for crops. We're 2.5 years old, and we've grown 300% year on year. We're the #1 drone and satellite player in the UK, and we currently operate in Brazil, Russia, Ukraine, and we're now delighted to announce that we're coming to Australia. We have grown a 30-people strong team, and we have over 100 customers in 4 countries. My name is Zach, and I'm the head of Hummingbird Australia. I'll just play a bit of a... Is it going to go? Let's jump into our demo. So as you can see, we're flying over a couple of crops. Once the data is uploaded into the cloud, customers get an actionable insight within 24 hours that they can plug onto a USB and plug straight into their farming equipment. All of the farmers segmented into different fields. Here we can see an NDVI map. And what the NDVI map shows is that where the greener areas are, the plants are healthier, and the red, not so much. This image is not visible by the human eye. We have a number of different products across a range of crops: wheat, barley, canola, sugar beet, potatoes, and soybeans. You can take notes, whether it's yourself as the farmer or your agronomist or us as hummingbirds, about what's happening in your fields. Here is a variable rate nitrogen application map. So generally, farmers would have always just applied one rate of nitrogen. After us flying your crops, the farmer can then put in a variable application map and plug straight into his sprayer or spreader. On average, our service costs £20 per hectare, and we look to save the farmer around £50 per hectare, which gives them a clear ROI. Here is just a simple visual of how it all happens. So data collection into the cloud, goes through our analysis, gets put onto your device or app, and then plugs straight into your machine. Stuff. Here are a few of our investors. We have Google, Dyson, Imperial College London. Thank you for your time.
Okay, let's hear it for Hummingbird. Questions from our judges.
So have you already built the connectivity into the existing sort of highly advanced automated tractors, automated sprayers, so that they're native. And just out of curiosity, in the video you showed a device sort of diving into the crop, and it looks like hitting the ground. Was that to source soil samples, or was that just the thing died?
Okay, Sam. I had the same question. Did it crash?
You mentioned you're looking to save a certain amount of money. Is that the main value proposition, that you help them save money on fertilizer, or do you actually increase yield? And for your existing customers, can you maybe talk to specific numbers around that?
And yeah, so I'm kind of a bit confused about your presentation. So who are your competitors? Are you competing with Monsanto? Is it Bayer? Are you trying to, it's Climate Corp, which is now a subsidiary of Monsanto. Are you dealing with climate, are you providing climate information? Or are you trying to deal with the, giving information about what kind of crops they should be planting, what kind of fertilizer they should be using? All that kind of detail I was very confused about.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Good.
Okay,
Zach,
so
1 minute.
First of all, the drone, that's just how they land. So they just land. You can't actually land them any sooner. What we are trying to do, we don't work for a chemical company. What we're trying to do is we are trying to increase people's yields or decrease their costs. So either put more chemical where it needs more, or less where it needs less. We've flown over 150,000 flights. We have over 100 customers. And so depending on that customer, what they can do is evaluate each crop. Rather than spreading fertilizer on all of it, they may only do half. Rather than blanket spraying it, they may only spray 25% of it. Where in the past, before this technology, they just did one blanket application. So our competitors, to answer the machinery that people use today is already compatible. So we send you a shapefile, they can plug it in. 90% of the farmers these days have compatible machinery. It's nothing special.
Is the drone taking pictures from above the best way to do this? Or is it in combination with ground truth from sensors on the tractor that makes this unique?
So ground truthing on the sensors on the tractors is expensive, and it's also timely. So this is the best from above, and then there are agronomists ground truthing what they see.
Okay, great. Let's give it up for Hummingbird. Next up is Banjo Maps. Never give a disclaimer before you give the presentation. Just be confident. Here we go. You got a disclaimer? No disclaimers. Good. 3 minutes on the clock. Here we go. What's your name?
Mladen.
Say again.
Mladen. It's like Aladdin, but with an M.
Got it. Mladen. Thank you for explaining it. Banjo Maps. 3, 2, go.
My name is Mladen Jovanovic. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer at Banjo Maps. I want to start by introducing you all to our friend and our colleague, Nicole. This is Nicole and her guide dog, Toby. Nicole was born blind. Going to a coffee shop, a shopping mall, or a favourite restaurant is something that we all associate with happiness and joy. For Nicole, going just about anywhere is a daunting task. Without having another person constantly by her side, guiding her every step of the way, it is nearly impossible for Nicole to navigate unfamiliar internal spaces. Banjo Maps is an internal navigation tool which has been optimised for people like Nicole who are vision impaired. Banjo Maps combines beacon technology and Bluetooth trilateration with an internally developed algorithm to deliver the most accurate internal navigation tool in the world. Our software is currently able to guide you within 30 centimetres of accuracy through internal spaces. By using our software, for the very first time in her life, Nicole was able to independently navigate her way through a building and buy herself a cup of coffee. So how did Nicole manage to do this all on her own? As Nicole entered a Banjo Maps equipped building, she received a haptic alert letting her know that she was in a supported environment. Nicole was then able to narrow her search down to a particular destination, such as a coffee shop. As Nicole was navigating the internal space, she received hazard warnings such as stairs and uneven surfaces, along with general information about her surroundings. When Nicole arrived to the coffee shop, our software told her exactly where the counter was. Our foundation customer was a 420,000 square metre university campus, the University of Technology Sydney. Shortly after, Banjo Maps was featured in StartCon, Crunchbase, ABC News, and Commercial Real Estate, just to name a few. Now, we believe that accessibility and inclusion should not be limited to a subset of the population, such as large corporates. Therefore, we are currently in the process of lobbying to make Banjo Maps a legislative requirement for every public building in Australia. Banjo Maps' global expansion plans are set to commence in 2020. Banjo Maps will be operating in over 21 countries and helping over 53 million people around the world living with vision impairment navigate their daily lives. Banjo Maps was inspired by our founder, Dr. Anna Wright. Anna was diagnosed with a rare form of vision impairment in the early 2000s. Since that day, Anna has devoted her life to help deliver vision and independence to millions of people around the world, like our friend Nicole. We ask that you play a part in our journey and help spread the word about Banjo Maps. At the end of the day, we all deserve a chance to be equal. Thank you.
Okay, well done. Just one question for me, which was I didn't understand exactly how it worked beyond the haptic. Was she hearing things, saying left, right? Was it shaking to give her that information? I would have liked to understand exactly how it was working, because she was holding the phone, I think, a little close, which I thought maybe was on speakerphone telling her stuff, but it was unclear. Ben, your questions.
Yeah, so two quick comments. Seeing a company try to legislate itself into business is an interesting approach. And have you thought a little bit about, or just consider the fact that the for-profit path might not be the most optimal one to fund here, and that you're doing some real value, but it's hard to understand how it can monetize in a meaningful way. The key question I have on the technology is how you ingest these internal maps. What's the process by which you're going to map a building, which is going to be ever-changing in some ways?
Thinking about it through, like, is it venture fundable lens? A little bit on market size would be good to know, and then also just thinking about, like, how, you know, you're charging for the hardware, it's going to cost someone to install it, then presumably you're charging a license fee. How much is this going to cost? How long is it going to take to sell to a customer? So basic unit economic stuff.
And two things. One, you mentioned about being unassisted, but you still had her using a dog in the thing. So my question is, was that just for safety reasons for that thing, or is it that it's truly unassisted? But then beyond that, are there any other uses that you have for this technology beyond what you're showing here? Is there a more expansive kind of use you have here?
I had the same cognitive dissonance, Asher. I was like, I thought the dog was going to be left at home or something alone, and I was really sad for a second. I was like, you still need the dog or no? Okay, Aladdin, you have 1 minute to respond. 3, 2, go.
So the first question was, how does it work? So we use natural language. So there is content that goes in the back end, and we're actually developing a database of our own language.
But what is the user experience, is my point. It's unclear.
So I was just getting to that. So we use that language that we develop, and it's all auditory, so it's translated through voice. So as Nicole was navigating the space, we use our own language to tell her X amount of meters that way, this is to the right, this is to the left. Everything is auditory. There's no sensory or any other technology there. Second question was about legislation. Now, there is more than just navigating blind people that we deliver here. There is a whole safety aspect. To give you a perfect example, when we were speaking to a major bank, one of their head of accessibility and inclusion, he's a blind man. And the fire brigade told him to wait in the goods lift if there is ever a fire until someone gets him. He was the first one to say, I'm going to be the first one to go outside of that door. Hence why we are lobbying to get this as a part of legislation. So following on to that, you asked, how is it done with the mapping? How is everything uploaded? Right now, it's a very manual process, so we do have to go individually and map out these beacons, get all the beacons up. It's double-sided sticky tape, so there's no drilling. That's all we do with the beacons. Once that's calibrated, the maps are uploaded, and then users are able to navigate. Sorry, just cut this short. Market size and revenue. So our market size, since this is applicable to not just blind people, it's normal-sighted people as well, it's anywhere in the world pretty much where they have public buildings, public spaces, large educational facilities, things like that. And the revenue model, wrong slide, slides are gone. So I had a revenue model we charge on a per square metre basis. We charge $3.80 per square metre. That's upon initial installation, and then we charge a maintenance revenue of 50 cents per square metre per year.
And last to the question of why she still has the dog with her, is the dog
so
the
it's-
backup or it's redundant systems then?
No, so we would never ever take a blind person away from their dog or their cane. We want them to use that with our app. So we do not account for movable furniture such as tables, chairs, anything like that that can be placed in front of a blind person, hence why they still need their guide dog or their cane.
Is there an opportunity, you brought up haptics, I'm curious if anybody's worked on a haptic suit, like a shirt or something, where if I was walking towards something, it would vibrate more, or if there was an obstacle on the left, it could vibrate, or if I was supposed to go left, my shoulder on the left would vibrate, or something like that. I'm kind of thinking like, and I don't say this to make light of it, but the character Daredevil in the comic books had the ability to almost like have sonar. And I was just thinking, I wonder if there's a sonar-like ability, because you mentioned it had haptics to tell them they're there, but what about haptics to tell you, hey, you're getting close to a staircase? Has anybody made something like that?
To my knowledge, no, but that's interesting that you bring that up, because to be actually able to map a space out to a blind person, you will draw on their back with your finger. So in some cases, yes, that could be developed.
Wait, you're saying that's how blind people will do this with each other?
No, not with each other, no. If I was...
I'm saying if you were going to explain, that's what I meant, yeah, I'm sorry.
Correct,
If
yeah.
you were going to explain to a blind person, that is the standard procedure?
Sometimes, depends. If
Ah, I
they're
didn't know
blind
that.
and deaf, especially, yes.
wow.
Because you need to draw a map and tell them where things are. So in your case, it's definitely possible, but that's not our core business.
So they could wear a shirt with haptics eventually that could then build the map.
Let me just write that down to my next startup, 1 second.
Well, I mean, it is the future tech, so I mean, it's interesting. One of the great, I'll say, one, I think he deserves a big round of applause for working on something super meaningful. And we've had a little bit of fun here with some of the presentations, but when you do future tech, it really does get your mind going, and I think it's super inspiring, which is why we wanted to end with it. And just another thank you for doing this. So let's give him another big round of applause, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is rapid phenotyping, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I think it's phenotyping. Okay. Now, by the way, one of these presentations is a fake startup, so it's up to you to guess which one's the fake one. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. 3, 2, go.
So hi, I'm Anthony from Rapid Phenotyping, and we build mobile devices that put the power of a lab in the palm of your hands. So when most people think of lab testing, they think of blood testing and medical testing, and that's definitely something that we're working on. However, our initial focus is on agriculture, and you'd be surprised how much testing does occur. Farmers test their soil before they sow seeds, they test their plants as they grow, and they test their produce for quality at harvest time to optimize yields and maximize the price that they get when they sell it. That quality grading then occurs throughout the supply chain. So to conduct a soil test, a farmer needs to walk out in the field, collect some soil, package it up in his bag, take it back to the farmhouse, register it on a website, print out a sample submission form, package that up, drive it 2 to 3 hours to the nearest post office, where that is then sent to a lab for testing by skilled technicians and using expensive machinery. This is slow, inconvenient, and expensive. Same happens for leaf testing and throughout the supply chain for quality grading. Currently, the end users or the buyers of the produce have no way of knowing what the quality is. So our solution is the Smart Lab. The Smart Lab is a multispectral device that produces a complex signal or molecular fingerprint of whatever's put inside it, and we then use machine learning to decode that into an instant result on the phone. We can now put this on farm for soil and leaf testing and throughout the supply chain for quality grading, and the end users can now test their produce for quality. The agricultural market is huge in Australia and globally. We estimate approximately 1 to 3% of that is for testing and compliance. And what we hear over and over again is that more people would be testing more of the time if it wasn't so slow, inconvenient, and expensive. We have a unique marketplace business model that allows us to scale our testing capabilities out into new areas rapidly by working with development partners to then build out tests on our platform in a whole range of different industries. Thank you.
Okay, well done. Feedback from our judges or questions?
I didn't really understand the marketplace thing that you mentioned. Do you mind just elaborating that a little bit more?
And can you speak to the actual use of the device? This is a device which is attached to a traditional phone, and you can ingest what type of feedstock and what variety, because you then, when you talk about later markets, go into a pretty aggressive range, so liquid and solid and dirt and plant life. I mean, what does that look like?
And if you can go into who's your actually target customer for this, because I'm kind of curious as who you're actually trying to sell this to.
How many full-time employees, and how long did it take you to get to this point in development? How many months?
Yeah. Let's write those down. All right, so I'll start with the first one. So the marketplace business model. So to generate a new test on our platform requires machine learning. And so our marketplace has a supply side where we work with development partners. These are people who do a lot of lab testing already and have a lot of samples. And they pump that through our system. Our machine learning software builds that testing capability. That's registered on our platform. And then on the demand side, these are people out in the field using that test. A portion of that revenue goes back to the development partner. So that's how the marketplace works. Number two, I guess the user experience. So for a farmer, he will go out in the field, collect his soil sample, place it inside our device, press scan, and select the variables that he wants to know, potentially nitrogen, moisture, carbon content of the soil, and click scan, and the results will be delivered instantly. So our sampling module allows liquid and solids to be placed inside. So the target customers initially are agronomists and farmers. And how many employees and how long? We have 10 employees currently. It's taken us about a year and a half of development. However, we started with a service model, and it's been a transition.
How much money has been invested to get to this point, and how much does that machine cost to make?
Yep. So this is in Australian dollars. So we've raised $880,000 in seed capital. We match that dollar for dollar with government grants, and that's what we've had.
And what does the machine cost to make, or?
So the cost of goods.
Yeah.
So currently we have a high-end device and a low-end device. The high-end device is $6,000 cost of goods. The low-end device is around $1,500.
What do you sell that for? Or did you just license it on a monthly fee, or how do you do it?
So the high-end device is $399 a month. The low-end device is $150 a month. You get a certain number of tests with that. If you go above that testing threshold, you pay $1 a test.
Fantastic. Okay, let's hear it for rapid phenotyping. Okay, judges. Here we go. Tell me your 3, 2, 1. Your 3 and your 2. We'll start with 3 and 2. That's it. You saw 6 companies.
It's nice to finally meet you.
Oh, thanks, Norby. Thanks, Norby.
I can play games.
It's me. Face me. Will you be my virtual child? Would you like a student loan? I can originate a student loan for you.
But most importantly, I can ask clever questions.
Would you?
What is 10 minus 1? Nope, that is not it.
How on earth could you get that wrong? You're 8 years old. This is one of the easiest questions I've ever given you. You're such a disappointment. I'm sending a video of you messing up a simple math question to your grandmother.
What would it be?
She's not going to come for Christmas now.
It would be a sweet tree.
It's so dystopian. I love it. It really is like awesome. All right, great. All right. I love it. All right, you saw Norby, you saw Face Me, you saw Pat AI, you saw Hummingbird, Banjo Maps, and Rapid Phenotyping. Give me your number 3 and your number 2. Sam, looks like you're ready. What's your number 3 and 2?
My number 3 is Hummingbird.
Very nice.
And my number 2 is Face Me.
Got it. Okay, Ben, 3 and 2. Face Me.
Number 3 is Face Me. Number 2 is Rapid Phenotyping.
Got it. And Asher, number 3 and number 2.
Number 3 is Banjo Mars, and number 2 is Hummingbird.
So Banjo Maps, and then Hummingbird. So where does that put us in terms of scoring? Okay, we're tied with Face Me and Hummingbird at 1.5. Ben, who is your number 1 and why?
So my number 1 was one of the worst presentations, but I think the opportunity is enormous, and that's Hummingbird.
Great.
They've got enough clients now to show, and there's an enormous amount of value to be squeezed out of the agribusiness.
Great. And Asher, who is your number 1 and why?
My number 1 was Face Me. I just think that while I wasn't enthralled with his answer in terms of where he's going to get to the natural language back and forth, I just think that the opportunity is tremendous, and I think that they're really onto something. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah, it's a good lesson for founders. Just answer the damn question, right? Like, when do you think it's going to be actually, passable in that uncanny valley sense? And so where does that put us? Face Me and Hummingbird at 3.5. Okay. Sam, who is your number 1?
My number 1 was Norby.
Norby is number 1. Okay. So does that put us at 3.5? 4? Okay. Okay. So I will vote then to get us out of this. I wasn't going to vote, but I'm going to now. Somebody do the Jeopardy music for a second. Thank you. Well, some of these were super disturbing. Norby is like a Black Mirror episode. Face Me would work well in 3 years. I didn't understand Pad I, but I wanted to. I will put my number 3 as Banjo Maps. I think it's important and interesting. There are it felt like it needs a little bit of work, but I think they're onto something. And number 2, I'm going to give to Face Me, because I think that's going to rapidly get better. And although it's like easy to make fun of, it's kind of easy to make fun of because it's so damn close, and it's so disturbing and interesting, and yeah. And for me, number 1, it's probably going to be a little bit of a wild card here, but I thought rapid phenotyping, to me, seemed like serious technology that could really make a huge impact if all that soil was tested and it was in a database somewhere. That database itself would be worth something super valuable. Does that break the tie? I didn't even think about the ramifications of my votes.
Vote for either of the ones.
What? Face Me number 1? Okay. Okay. So congratulations to Rapid in 3rd, Hummingbird in 2nd, and Face Me in 1st. Big round of applause. Let's thank our judges. Well done. And you guys can exit stage left. All right. I'm going to invite a couple of the company. I'm going to invite the winner of all of the competitions to join us for our Incubator in America, which is a $100,000 investment. So I'll ask the following companies to come to the stage. Rapid Phenotyping and Face Me, come on up. And then in addition to them, I would like to see from the last group, Crave, WePloy, Posty, and Takeoffs. Come on up. Are they here? Maybe? Okay, thank you. Okay, come on up. Give them a round of applause. And from yesterday, is Crypto Flip here by chance? Come on down. If you're asleep up there, come down here. Where is it? Okay. And Skin Allies, are you here? She's not here. Okay, no problem. By just full disclosure, Ballooner, who is in the Republic companies, has already been accepted into Launch Incubator, so I didn't include them in the voting. So an amazing group of companies. I picked some of the ones that I thought were really ready to either come to our incubator or that I particularly felt had an incredible potential. And so we have 6 companies up here. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the #1 company. Oh, that's CryptoFlip. How are you? So we have 7 companies here. Each incubator class has 7 companies in it. And so I'm going to invite one of the companies, the winner of the overall Launch Festival Sydney 2018. Our overall winner is WePloy. Congratulations. You'll be coming to the Launch Incubator if you want to. Now, what I'd also like to do is invite all of the rest to come to the Launch Incubator and invest $100,000 in them. So I think that's like 7 or 8 companies. All of you are really exceptional. Now, this is going to require due diligence. So if what you presented is complete utter rubbish and we find that out and you're a felon, then no. But if you had the felony cleared in some way, that's okay too. But I just want to say, as we close up here, the quality of the companies here were second to none that I see around the world. All of you are as good as the companies that we accept into our incubator from Europe, from America, from Asia. The companies that we saw here were, I think, just tremendous, and they deserve a huge round of applause. Let's give it to them. Yeah, really good. And we will be working with you, hopefully some of you. My prediction is out of these, I think I picked maybe 8 companies. We'll check the tape in a minute. Of the 8 companies, I'm guessing 3 or 4 of them will take our invite to America to come for, about 4 months to go do the program. And that will result in you raising, in all likelihood, if you do it right, millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars from American investors. And then we'll be here next year with you having graduated from the program. The program starts every 2 or 3 months, so you'll either be able to come to September or November or even into next year. And then we'll be here next June with you having graduated. And I think that'll be pretty special. We'll have you back on stage to explain to us what the progress was. So congratulations to our #1 winner, Tony from WePloy. Great job. And you guys are dismissed. But before we go, I would like to bring up my team: Osgood, Presh, Peter, Matt, Demont, Austin, Mike Savino. Who am I missing? I think I got everybody. Oh, and I want to take a moment to thank NAB Ventures. They threw an incredible dinner last night. They've been incredibly supportive. Can we give it up one time for NAB? And most importantly, of course, BCG Digital Ventures. Give it up for them one more time. Thank you. The team. And Daniel, please, come on up. Okay, move down a little bit. I don't know where Matt is. Matt was here for like 6 weeks. Oh, here he comes. He's coming. He's running down here. Mike Savino, my first boss, has worked with me and mentored me for the better part of, well, over 2 decades now. Matt's been on the ground here closing deals along with Peter, who wasn't on the ground, was back with me in San Francisco closing deals and putting together the great sponsor list. Daniel came early and helped out, or came late rather, because we needed some extra help. Thank you for making the last minute flight. Presh and Osgood have been here for 6 weeks. They have been kicking it, crushing it. Let's give them a big special round of applause. And Austin and Demont also kept the stage going. That's why they got those earpieces in. And now I will ask you to stand up and give the team, and Jackie, who's at home, Jackie, we miss you. Let's give them a standing ovation, okay? They did a good job, didn't they? Come on, let me hear it one time. Okay, now you can all give a bow. And we'll see you next year. Thank you for having us.